The content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
Yo, can you hear me, man? What's good, y'all, man? I'm GG, man. You tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely. Straight up, no chaser, man. Shout out to all the haters out there, man, when you come in, man. Peace out to y'all, man. Again, man, choke on about 1 million razor blades. Anyway, man, when you come in, man, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button so you can stay on top of what's going on the Green Gorilla channel. And I want to shout out all the members of the Green Gorilla channel before I get started, like I always do. And I got a headache, so I ain't gonna be doing a lot of yelling, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? I ain't got a lot of yelling to do unless I really get into the spirit, but I'm trying to chill out, man. So anyway, man, shout out to Barnolas, Hostile Adept, The Cold-Hearted Revelator, Lee Ways, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Michael Ross, Lord Hamal, Kill the Gang, Dr. Thunder, and BGS Ivmore. Big up to them, man. Big up to Brotherly Love, Jason Hales, Charles Finney, Interesting Thought, Bimrock, Black Swerve 404, Until I'm Not, Apex Prowler, Ezekiel Will, Naomi Gary, and Jay Cleveland Green. Big up. Big up to the Toxic Masculinist, Pulpit 28, No Sleep, Broken Blade, Mr. King, Larry R, Seth Sun, Devon Love Ridge, Afro Troop TV, Show Me in Spain, man. Big up to y'all, man. Big up Seven Coast Dojo, Anthony Davis, I'm Just Jules, His Honest Look, Sherlin Woe, Ricky Dawson, Stefan, Julius Ferguson, True 7360, Mr. Me Too, and Call for President. Big up. Big up to Gold Professor, AKs and Curtains, H-Town, Roguish the Billmonger, Adrian Thomas, Electrician 480, Bingo Cutting Up with the Jones, Zanko, D. Scott, and Path Guy 74. Big up. Big up Pete Rock, Aaron Peters, Vince Lindsay, Quiz the Poet, Black Wizard, Jazz Tech, Shadow Observer, Artisan MC, Troy Warren, Mrs. KP Bailey, and Alan Wiley. Big up. Big up The Face, Life of Commerce, Dreamlit, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, Marvin Battle Jr., Adam Ignatz Mouse, Brian Peaks, and Scott Haywood. Big up. Big up Black Uru, Dr. Tree, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, K. Reness, Charles Rogers, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, Greg, and Barry Little. Big up. Big up Mr. Valentino, Cameron 87, Dr. Rock, Mark Swift, Odd Collar, Donald Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, Mr. Blue Collar, TD Hip Hop Media, and Drew Main. Big up. Big up Mr. Heat. Big up Sir Anthony. Big up MLR, Universal 178, Rasheed Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, A Double, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalanja Kala, and W. Pierre 1. Big up. Can't forget Forrest Windu, Kevin Samuels, and David Carroll, man. Big up to y'all, man. On the Patreon side, shout out to Robert Wicks, Passport OG, JEK, Chris Flowers, Christopher Burton, Daxby, J Live, Rashawn Phillips, Keith Bass, Nick, Albert C, Dr. Ben Vincent, J Cleveland Green, I'm the Light of My Father, Waffle Weave, Tyrone Hampton, Darnell Smith, Excalibur, Pursuer Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, J Bailey, Mr. Michi, Momal, and the same. Well, big up to y'all, man. Thank you for supporting the Green Gorilla channel on an ongoing basis, man. Appreciate the help and all the support that you give me, man. Every now and then I, become a little bit absent here and there, but, thank y'all, man. Y'all deserve a round of applause. And if you want to become a member of the Green Gorilla channel on an ongoing basis to support, the channel and all that, man, this is how you do it, man. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. The place where black men can express themselves freely. Straight up, no chaser. Today I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, we back, man. I'm GG. Of course, you tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chases. I put, the link to the stream because I got some basic questions to ask, Yeah, I got some questions to ask. So, the question really is, are we done with the bullshit yet? Are we done with the bullshit yet? And before I even start, man, let me make it clear for all you people out there who might become, outraged by the kind of language I'm about to use and all of that. Like, if you have an issue.
The content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised.
That's the disclaimer right there. So before I even start, being vulgar or ignorant or saying anything that might be off kilter, I'm letting you know right now, I'm on some bullshit today. But not the kind of bullshit that I've recently been exposed to, from hearing, YouTube channels and shit, or hearing guys that consider themselves to be part of the manosphere. I'm like, man, dude, are we done with this fucking bullshit yet? And what I mean is, I had to tune out from this shit for a minute because y'all just kept talking about this white chick, man. And I just don't have time to fucking indulge in that, bro. I'm just gonna keep it a buck, man. I have no time, nor any patience to continuously hear a whole bunch of pontification. I have no time to hear a whole bunch of jibber jabber and a whole bunch of pontification about some white chick, man. I just don't, bro. I'm not here for that shit, man. I didn't come into the space for that shit. I didn't come here for that. So, now you got motherfuckers saying that the black manosphere is dead. I'm like, what? Who the fuck even thinks like that? Like, people who consider themselves to be part of the black manosphere are going around saying it's dead because some white woman says some less than flattering shit about black people on YouTube. And, I had to check out from it. I just want to know if we done with that conversation, like it's over with. But unfortunately, like the other day, I saw another video about this same motherfucker. And I'm like, dude, when will you niggas shut the fuck up talking about this chick, man? Like, come on, man. And the reason I say that is because did justice-related issues for black men just evaporate? Did they just go away all of a sudden because of a white chick or even black women with YouTube channels? Like, did our problems all of a sudden just fucking shrivel and ball up and shit and disintegrate because of their existence or some shit that they said? Did all the problems all of a sudden just fucking go away? That's the question I'm asking. I'm asking you. I mean, anybody right now, I done already left the invite. And this don't have to be long, because I'm done with the conversation myself personally. I just want to know if we can get back to the business of talking about justice-related issues for black men and boys for real. And one thing that's got me fucked up is, so what, y'all niggas mad because a white woman let your ass down? Did the white lady let you down, man? Did the white lady let you down, bro? Was she like the new MLK or something? Like, what the fuck, man? She didn't confirm that you were the proud and strong black man that you thought that she thought you was and shit. Hold on, shout out to Salty Balls, man. He says, Book of Scholars 2.3, Don Scholar watched from the shadows, deliberative debate and discourse had not allowed him to grow weary but a sabbatical, and now he has reemerged to smite nine with the back of his palm. Shout out to Salty Balls, man. Hey, look, serious questions, man. Now I'm hearing motherfuckers, saying that the manosphere is filled with simps and shit like that. I mean, just a whole bunch of language that to me is just, like to me, yeah, the motherfucking manosphere is filled with some simps and shit. Like I thought you motherfuckers already knew that shit. I thought it was already understood that that's what type of time a lot of motherfuckers are on anyway. Thought we already knew that shit, like the obvious. Motherfuckers mad because some white chick let them down. And then what else fucks me up about this, right? And I said it like a long time ago. I said it on the show that I did the other day. I said, some of the shit you motherfuckers say in the black manosphere is not pro-black at all. It's fucking insulting to niggas. Not just black women, it's insulting to niggas. The very demographic that you say you fucking represent, man. There you go, Black Wizard 80 say here's some units of manhood for your stream, bro. Shout out to that brother, man. Appreciate you, man. Straight up, man. Shout out. Lady told her, wait a minute, look, I'm not gonna go off on it. She said, it's because you black men are so in love with Miss Pearly Butter Biscuits. Look, now, let me just say this shit. I'm not even mad at this comment. Like, usually I'd be like upset about some shit, like somebody being snarky. But look, I've, always, ever since I've been here, and you can check the record on me. I don't know, I can't speak to what other motherfuckers is doing here, okay? But when it comes to me, I always call out white chicks. Always been calling them out. From day one. I show them at the lynchings. I'm pointing them out. They're there at the lynchings. They're there doing segregation. They're there watching against lynchings. They're in the Klan. And also, like, for some reason, like, black women like to forget the fact that they're black sometimes. Like, just be honest. But white ladies, look, I've been pointing this out. Look at look a little fucking little baby, little female, man. Little white little baby and shit. She got a fucking bottle in her mouth, man. Little girl, man, being raised in the ways of racism. And the thing is, this lady T lady, like, I left the invite. You're free to come up and have a conversation. Because the reality is, and this is the shit that fucks me up a lot about a lot of you women, man, the black women who come on here and talk shit like this. You act as if, first of all, like, let's start from the fucking beginning, okay? Let's talk about slavery. From the very fucking beginning. In case you didn't know, which most of you motherfuckers don't know, women, men, nobody knows, because y'all don't study shit. We got a group of motherfuckers that's the smartest, dumbest motherfuckers on the planet for some reason. The smartest, dumbest motherfuckers. But go back, do a basic search. You'll find that the vast majority of persons who basically came to the United States as slaves were fucking what? What gender were they? Answer that fucking question. If you want to talk about numbers and oppression and violence and the group that primarily was subjected to it, who the fuck were they? In fact, the vast majority of slaves that came to the Americas were men. Not men and women, sir. Not the vast majority of slaves that was brought to this motherfucker was men. Go look the shit up. You believe I'm lying about it? Go fucking look it up. Go look it up. If you look at the archival records and the historical records, the majority of enslaved Africans brought to the Americas during the transatlantic slave trade were males. Now, it's true the gender ratio varied over time among different regions, but go look. It's estimated 2/3 of enslaved people were male. And the female slaves didn't get to this motherfucker until it was declared that slavery was going to be brought to a halt by England. They're the ones who outlawed slavery initially. So they didn't start fucking bringing women over to this motherfucker in droves until slavery had almost reached its fucking end. Now, if you do the research, and I got a PhD in the philosophy of race, man. So if you look at it, there are several reasons for the gender imbalance. One, the demand for labor. The plantation economies in the Americas, particularly in the Caribbean and the South, required a large workforce to cultivate cash crops like sugar, tobacco, and cotton. And enslaved men were preferred for these because they were fucking physically demanding tasks. Those are just the facts. Perceived profitability. Slave traders and plantation owners believed that men were more valuable and better suited for hard labor than women. So they prioritized purchasing and transporting male slaves. Not to mention the fact that if you look at history, that's why I say we got a whole bunch of smart fucking dummies, male and female. If you look at how warfare takes place, typically it takes place amongst males, warring with each other, not fucking females warring against males and females and shit like that. It's usually males. But most of the enslaved Africans that you got were captured during raids and were prisoners of fucking war. And men were more likely to be targeted in such conflicts because of their perceived usefulness as laborers and warriors. Now, I'm not saying that there were no female slaves at all, but the vast majority of the fucking slaves were male. So all this shit about men keeping boots on your necks, come on, man, keep it a buck, man. Stop the bullshit. You talking to a motherfucker who's knowledgeable about these issues. You're not talking to a run-of-the-mill, fuddy-duddy, ignorant-ass nigga. I've been consistent over time. But we're going to talk about the ways in which also you as black women, y'all motherfuckers triangulate white supremacy and act like you don't fucking do it. And that's the issue I got with you motherfuckers. That's the problem I got with y'all. See, y'all act as if y'all don't do shit wrong like y'all motherfucking, godly and goodly and all of this kind of shit. And you know what y'all do? Actually, what you do is you use white womanhood as a means by which to cover yourselves under a fucking blanket. You use the so-called innocence associated with womanhood, but let's talk truth. Let's talk truth. We talk about how women are subjected to violence and women are subjected to sexual assault. Y'all ain't the only motherfucker subjected to that bullshit. You're not. But all it takes for a white bitch to say something, and then everybody starts aping and mimicking what the fuck they say. And that's the issue that I got. Black women have no fuck. You bitches need to be quiet when it comes to motherfucking white women, because y'all been eating white women's pussy juice for the greater part of 150 fucking years. You been feeding they babies and shit? Raising their children and shit? Being they motherfucking fairy godmothers and shit as mammies? Come on, man. Let's keep it a buck here, man. Stop the fucking cap. Like, it's just niggas doing butter biscuit shit with white women. Come on, man. Y'all ain't... You seen The Help, ain't you? You seen Gone with the Wind, ain't you? I know they're movies, but come on, man. The tripped out shit is only black men get accused of being susceptible to the psychological pathology associated with white racism. We're the only motherfuckers that get, seduced by white racism and internalized inferiority. We the only motherfuckers. But y'all just exempt from it. Why? Huh? Explain why. I left the invite. Cause see, I ain't want to go. This was really supposed to be just about black men in the manosphere. But you saw your motherfucking way into this shit. And I'm the type of guy, man, look, I'm gonna talk to anybody the same way, male or female. Gay or straight, white or black. I'm not giving nobody no fucking passes. Now, I ain't saying that, black men don't have their issues and psychological pathology associated with white racism. I believe that they do. But to act as if women are exempt from the shit, like y'all just revolutionaries, y'all got all the right answers and shit, and y'all revolutionary and pro-black, man, that's a whole bunch of bullshit. Not walking around with weaves in your motherfucking head. Fuck no. No. Sorry. Wrong answer. Motherfuckers walk around straightening their hair with creamy crack and shit talking about they pro-black. That shit is psychologically fucked up, man. We both got pathology associated with racism. But we want to just pin the tail on the black man. Act like it's just black men. And that's some bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and listen to that bullshit. But in general, though, like me, let me get back to what the fuck I was talking about. Because at the end of the day, I'm saying that too much of what the fuck been going on, the banter that's been going on, it's about Pearly and shit. Hold on, man. Hello? Hey, I can't talk to you right now. I'm doing the show.
Okay, well, I'll call you back later.
All right. My bad. Let me put this shit on, put it on vibrational. Some vibrational. So look, all I'm saying is, back to the regularly scheduled program. Shout out to Mike Johnson, man. He says, thank you, Dr. GJ, for cooking these clowns. Respect to our Black Manosphere scholars. Shout out to that brother, man. Shout out to C.R. Frank. He says, support the scholars. Appreciate that. And look, man, I don't mean to be ignorant, man, but, you know, sometimes I'm not even mad. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking tired. I'm tired of stupid shit. Shout out to Black Wizard. I don't know if I put, I did shout him out earlier. But come on, man. Like, let's come on. Can we just be honest about this shit, man? That's all I'm saying. Again, I done left the link more than once, bro. I just want to know if we done with the bullshit yet. Because motherfuckers mad that Pearly, let them down? Didn't let motherfuckers think that they was actually on black men's side because she had a whole bunch of darkies around her and shit? That she was going to understand, like, the exigencies and the, circumstances of black men? Like she just knew, and black women too, like she just kind of knew what the fuck was going on with us? Like, what the fuck? I just don't get it, bro. And, the thing I said is, bro, man, what Negroes need to stop doing, man, is looking for pats on the back and getting head rubs and shit, getting Scooby snacks from women, man. But a lot of y'all just can't seem to do without it, bro. I'm like, God damn, man, we are grown-ass men, bro. But you need your mommy come tuck you in at night, read you a fucking bedtime story or some shit, man. What the fuck? You ready for him to give you the bye-bye? Give you the nipple or some shit? Give you a kiss. Give me kiss. Wipe the cold out your eye. Oh, yeah, I'm like, man, we need to cut out the fucking pre-edible bullshit, man. Straight up, man. Shout out, man, to Shobi, man. Shout out, man. Shout out to him, man. Shout out to Shobi. I'm from the Shobi state, bro. Right, she don't even do black topics, man. She don't even do black topics. But look, let me just say this, right? Niggas need to get off this pre-Oedipal shit. Like, I don't know if you know about what the Oedipus complex is supposed to be, but the Oedipus complex is a stage of development where the child, particularly boys, become jealous of their fathers and want to destroy them on the account that they're receiving more affection than them related to their mommies and shit like that. That's what it represents, right? Niggas ain't even reached the Oedipal stage. They're pre-Oedipal. Where mommy, and the mama is God. Absolutely, totally encompassing everything. And this is why niggas keep super chatting women and shit, man. Like, they'll come out with a channel and then be talking for like maybe 6 months or some shit like that, and then niggas is like, fuck it, I'm giving you some cash. Here you go, here's some money. Take some money, baby. And there'll be 20, 30,000 subscribers and shit. But me, on the other hand, I'm making this shit personal, right? Motherfuckers will call me an exploiter and shit. No disrespect, but like I'm an exploiter because I'm trying to get you Negroes to pool your resources and to invest in a project that might have the potential to shape and affect public opinion and policy for black men with people who are credentialed, who have the capacity to walk in and to talk to policymakers and legislators and politicians and shit like that. I'm fucked up. Come on, man. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you Negroes, man? I say fuck it though, man. Keep giving these chicks all your bread. What the Gangsta Boo had a song? Who was that chick that had that song? I'm taking all this money, all this cash. Who was the chick that made that song, man? I'm taking all this money, all this cash. God damn. I say fuck it, man. Keep giving them your bread, bro. Keep perceiving the shit that's done here only as entertainment. And I get it, you know, I'm not knocking motherfuckers for making their bread, bro. I'm not knocking that shit at all. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to knock motherfuckers getting their bread, okay? I'm not. Because nobody, like, is twisting anybody's motherfucking shoulders or hands and forcing them to give anything. Nobody's doing that. If you want to invest in that shit, that's fine. But don't act like the shit that you're doing is something beyond tricking. Don't do that, bro. Just say you like going to the strip club, like the virtual strip club and shit. All the chick gotta do is show you some leg, some titties or something, and then you gonna give some bread. Just say it. I was listening to some old shit, old school hip hop, man, earlier though. And I was listening to some old school shit, man, earlier, man. It's Kool Moe Dee, man. I come from that era. And Kool Moe Dee had a song called, Do You Know What Time It Is? Tell me, do you know? Do you know what time it is? Check the clock. Kool Moe Dee, back in the day, cats was not on no tricking shit. I mean, I'm not to say that they weren't at all, because, you know, niggas are who they are, you know. But at the end of the day, motherfuckers wasn't tricking like that. Then, 2006, 2007, 2008, all you hear is niggas talking about tricking. You can have whatever you like. I want your body, need your body. Long as I got me, you don't need nobody. Hey man, look, I'm not even worried about the documentary, bro. Like, I can't focus on that right now because I already know where it's gonna go. I'm gonna start a campaign and then motherfuckers gonna start saying I'm trying to grift or some shit like that. No disrespect, but that's the assumption. The shit could have been made, we could have been on to the next thing. Yeah, Ja Rule and Nelly fucked the game up a bit. Yeah, they did. Shout out to Quanos. Shout out to him. And I do want to say this. He says, you Negroes hate on Pearly things because she's more successful. I'm not hating on her at all. You ain't see me come out and hate on her. I'm just saying, she doesn't speak to black male issues. I said, look, no one in the black manosphere has the capacity to change what Google's algorithm does and who it promotes related to views and likes and shit like that. Nobody can control that. But I'm tired of hearing people saying the manosphere is dead. Because the last time I checked, the same issues that black men had before a month and a half ago, they still fucking exist, don't they? They still here, aren't they? Or maybe they just all of a sudden went somewhere else because Pearlie just made the motherfuckers go away like she's like Dorothy from fucking Wizard of Oz or something. She like little fucking, what's the little white girl Shirley Temple and shit, tap dancing with grown ass men, just make all nigga problems go away. Make all the nigga problems just evaporate, huh? And the fucked up thing about it is, and I said this before, man, I'm gonna say it again. Please don't be gullible enough to believe that what happens on social media is the most important part of political progress and political struggle. Please don't do that, man. Don't do that. But my thing is, what? Are black men and boys on an upwardly mobile track now, huh? Are we on a upwardly mobile track now because of Pearlie? No. We've been giving you evidence that demonstrates that black men in general, black males, are on a downwardly mobile track, even if they come from two-parent families. We've been pointing this shit out. And even if you are in the middle class, since when did being in the middle class mean that you're actually fucking wealthy? And that economic justice obtains across the board for your demographic? Because let's face it, man, most people who are in the middle class are living check to check. If they was to miss some, you know, a couple, 3-4 paychecks, they'll fuel you in the motherfucker, you on Skid Row again. Now, I ain't saying all. Some niggas who are frugal and saving up money and shit like that, or whatever the case may be. We just talking about the bulk of black folks. The statistics demonstrate that black people, we own less than 1/2 of 1% of the fucking wealth in this country, bro. But we walking around this motherfucker bragging and shit. Since when did living check to check and being strapped with credit card debt and having a whole bunch of car loans and renting apartments and shit, whether it's in the country that you live in or foreignly? What is that? How does that shit make you a wealthy motherfucker, man, and put you in the top percentile of U.S. earners, man? Because of what some white chick or what even some black chick saying, are boys all of a sudden doing better in terms of matriculating into and graduating from colleges and universities? Or, you know, they're having increased or enhanced capacity to read and to perform mathematics? Or black men and boys now beginning to live longer and not die from homicide from each other or from heart disease and fucking cancer? Those are the issues I'm worried about. And they not just gonna all go away because white women or black women started monetizing some fucking channels on goddamn YouTube. What the fuck are we doing here, man? I've been watching. I see shit. Now, I don't always watch the black manosphere because, quite frankly, a lot of the shit is booty chatter. And I don't have a problem with booty chatter because some of the shit needs to be discussed. But my thing is, A lot of you motherfuckers act like y'all are closet intersectionalists. Closet intersectionalists. You know what intersectionality is, right? It's the idea that race can't be separated from class, can't be separated from gender, and that all of these interstitial forms of oppression connect together and can't be disentangled from one another. Are y'all like closet intersectionalists? You can't untangle issues related to sex, gender, or race, and understand that somebody can be right about what they're saying about gender and sex, but absolutely and totally fucked up and wrong about what they're saying about race? Or are you like sticking to the politically correct script? And you refuse to accept that any of these issues can be separated from each other? So I had to check the fuck out because I can't stand to hear shit to me that doesn't make sense. So I zone out of it, man. I've been talking about the ghetto for fucking 2 or 3 months. Nobody actually has stepped up and said, you know what, let's have a conversation about this ghetto shit from an academic perspective, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's think about it in a cerebral and in a sober-minded way, methodically, and let's make, some syllogistic steps to kind of understand what the fuck is going on. No, niggas checked out and they just went to fucking talk about Pearly and shit. Or they went to talk about Keisha or whatever the fuck the new term is for black women now. The B-dubs. They Keishas now, some shit. They don't have a problem talking about it, but come on, man. Are we done with this shit yet? We about to get back to the business of what we supposed to be on in the first place, man. Justice. That's what I'm here to talk about. I said, you can go back and look at my first videos. I said, hey, man, if you got girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I'm not a game coach. The shit that she doing is like the shit that Kevin Samuels was actually doing, trying to get black women to see that some of their fucking demands are delusional. Now, of course, Kevin Samuels can talk about the issue from a totally different perspective than, say, for example, a Just Pearly can. But all fucking Just Pearly did was fucking intervene. She just came in and like a rapper doing the new style. Like, you know the niggas that do Migos style now? Everybody talking ripping the kipping the kicky, the popping the pipping the pocket the pip, hipping the hop, look at you. Everybody doing that shit now. That's all she did. She came in and started doing shit everybody else was doing. But she put a veneer on it. She put a more glossy production on the shit. She rented some microphones and some motherfucking digital audio workstations and shit and bought some cameras or whatever the case may be and set up a studio in her house and got some cameramen and got some B-roll going and shit. Niggas is still on motherfucking StreamYard. Working with the technology that they have access to. Sorry, the game is how it is. Niggas ain't got the fucking investment capital to create a motherfucking YouTube channel, mostly like Fresh and Flit or some shit like that. Most niggas ain't got enough money to get a gaming chair and shit. Yeah, I feel you, Jared, man, but come on, man. You know niggas, man. You know niggas, man. Let's just keep it a buck here. A lot of us ain't even showing our faces in this motherfucker. Again, nobody is gonna come talk to me and shit. Motherfuckers mad because somebody else got a world-class setup Shut your shit up. Step your game up. Go ask for motherfuckers to interview and all that shit. If that's what you want to do. Personally, I have no interest in doing that shit right now. Some people, that's how they get down. I don't get down like that. I ain't trying to do. I've already been there and done that. I'm just saying I'll be done with the bullshit yet, because I'm done with it, man. I'm through with that bullshit. I'm trying to talk about what I figure is important. I'm trying to give you information. Shout out to Mr. Blue Collar, man. Shout out to Black Wizard ADOS again. He says, anybody saying it's dead doesn't understand why people are here. Where else we got? This is it. Basically, who else is going to listen to the shit you have to say? So all of a sudden, some motherfuckers that's pro-black or, black women can all of a sudden come in and just say, fuck, well, everything you said is invalid because Pearly said some unflattering shit about niggas. Come on, man. Cut the bullshit out, man. I'm done with it. Shout out to PK Angel, man. Shout out, man. And the only thing that gets my goat, man, look, motherfuckers will use internalized inferiority as a means by which to denigrate black men over and over and over and fucking over again. And I'm just tired of hearing that shit, man. Like the woman who came, Lady T, no disrespect to the lady, man, but you're not about to come up in my spot and then only say that psychological dysfunction and internalized inferiority is a phenomenon only exemplified or experienced by black men. Fuck, I'm not playing that game, man. PK, what's cracking with you, bro?
What up, bro? What's going on, man? It's nice to see you.
What's cracking with you, man? Yeah, man. I had to take a little break from this shit though, because motherfuckers to me, I mean, like, I'm like, dude, we done lost focus. You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I worried about what the fuck somebody else talking about? Like I can hold multiple conversations. You ever been to a conference, man, and they got like different rooms with different people doing different talks and shit like that?
Yeah, I have.
So if one person is in a conference room and they're having a conversation that you don't like or that somebody caught wind of, and somebody in that particular session says something that, was not politically correct, then the whole fucking conference is invalidated?
No.
Like, what the fuck, man?
What generally happens is if a motherfucker feels offended, you get the fuck up and you leave. Like, it's not that hard. Like, you go somewhere else, bro.
You vote with your views, man. You vote with your views, your likes, your super chats, or whatever. Now, it just so happens, though, I hate to say it, a lot of black men, they really don't care to be encouraged by each other. They want nods. They want acceptance. They want approval from their mothers, man. It just is what it is.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. I think I see that. I see that much too often. It's real sad.
I remember when I was a little boy, man. My mom, man, had me in a back room. I lived on a street called Kasuth. She put my ass in the back room. And she was a hard lady too, man, in terms of like, discipline and shit like that. Like, she's like, motherfucker, I am not about to come run to your ass at nighttime, nigga. You don't have to learn how to sleep at night, motherfucker. And you can't come to my bed, little nigga. No. Take your ass, and the kids have separation anxiety, when they being weaned or whatever. Some niggas ain't been weaned.
I don't know what's wrong with these motherfuckers. I don't know what's wrong with, man. I wish I had an answer for some of this stuff, man. I wish I did. And some of it is, I really don't. I can't find the words to describe what I want to say about us, because I don't want to denigrate us, but at the same time, it's like, God damn.
Look, I don't have any problem with us critiquing each other if the critique is going to be constructive. Now, one thing I'm not calling for is for black men to be depicted derogatorily all across the board. Like, if I say that there's a tendency that we have, it's not that I'm meaning to break you down to the point where you can't be built back up. Like, I'm not for pogroms and the elimination or the denigration of an entire population of black men on the account of what white motherfuckers have to say about them, or, you know, or what some uppity Negroes might have to say about them. I'm not for that shit, okay? I get that there's a lot of deprecating language that exists within this space, but the one thing I don't want to happen is for black men to do the work of white people and to hasten our fucking genocide.
Correct. Correct. That's why I try to be careful with the things that I critique. I try to be careful. But
What's good,
sometimes...
GG?
Yeah, let PK continue to talk, though. Go ahead.
Sometimes, you know, some of these things, it bothers me to my core. And it's like, it's some of the stuff, it really shouldn't be that controversial, that hard. There's some concepts that aren't that difficult to grasp. Okay, I guess I'm in the back, man.
Yeah, you gotta do something. Yeah, you gotta do something with that mic, bro. You can't have a whole bunch of.
You can hear the background? You get the background?
Yes, sir. I can hear the background.
Yes. So somebody got YouTube playing. They got to turn the YouTube off.
Yeah, man. So you know, like my whole thing. The one thing I don't want to do is hasten the process and drum up the low-level conflict, because it's low-level warfare that we're dealing with, man, on a daily basis.
It is. I think I said this a couple of days ago, and I'm gonna stick by it. It's very crucial that people understand what it was and what it is that we mainly do here in these particular conversations. And if it's not one of these if it doesn't fall in these categories, then you're really not for the space in general. In which case, you're probably in the wrong conference room, as you put it aptly earlier, which is advocacy, agency, and awareness. If it's not one of, the truth falls in all of those three things. So that's an overarching mission. But if it's not one of those three things, then you're really not talking about what we're doing. You're really not doing what we're doing, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Go do what you're doing.
I think Dessalines hit the nail on the hammer here. You know, hit the nail on the head here. I mean, that was talking about that chick was a pretext for people to try to come in and to label the space in a way that they've desired, to pigeonhole it and to place it into a category of backwardness, and, you know, to basically stop these kind of conversations and to say, you know, like many people do, these conversations are dangerous. They're encouraging violence towards women. They're, you know, regressive and misogynistic, and they need to be stopped. And like I heard some little dude, some zesty dude, man, with like black fingernails and shit, going off on black men in the manosphere and passport bros, like, you niggas is fucking up for gay people and women and all this kind. I'm like, bro.
Yikes. What?
I swear to God, man, I saw that shit. I was like, bro.
Where the fuck did you catch it? What the fuck?
Man, look, I'm going to pull that shit up. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Can I say some short?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I want to say this. Wait, let me see. Why is that? I'm echoing. Why is there YouTube? This is on my phone. Did somebody got YouTube on?
I'm muted, bro.
You just, I don't know, man. Say what you gotta say.
Hello? All right, it's gone. No, it's not. Let me jump down and jump back in. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, jump down, bro.
Oof, that's rough.
Yeah, what the hell he got going on? But I'm gonna show you. Look, let me show you this shit. Let me find this shit here, bro. I would. Hold on. Let me see here, man. I gotta find this shit here, bro.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Like I don't even really pay too much attention to the critiques of this space, because for the most part they aren't actually in good faith, and I don't engage with bad faith actors. I just don't. I reject the conversation outright. That's just how I deal with it.
I get it. You know, I understand. Hold on, let me. I think hold on. I thought I had this shit going. You can't, for some reason, I can't make the screen. Yeah, here we go.
I think many of the people here have an obligation. You know, the people who are content creators have an obligation to deal with it to some extent. But you know, as a quote unquote panelist, you know what I mean, who's been here for a long time, I'm just like, man, I don't. Fuck you guys. I don't care. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, well, my whole thing is there's some shit that why am I responsible for some shit that I didn't even say? Or something that I didn't even bring to fruition. Or why should I be for example, if I'm at a conference and I'm in an entirely different section of the conference and didn't even go to the session where the so-called controversial content was expressed, why am I responsible for it?
Because you happen to be in the same building. You're collateral damage.
Okay, well that's okay. I'm
serious. That's the thinking.
That's some bullshit thinking right there.
Hey man, hey, don't look at me. I'm just telling you how it goes.
Right. I get it, you know, but I'm not gonna allow myself to be responsible for some shit everybody else does. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, where does it end?
It doesn't.
You know what I'm saying? Where does that shit end? So let me show you this shit, man. Let me share this shit. Present. No, I don't want to share the screen. I do want to make myself big though. I'll make myself big. There we go. Now check this shit out.
I'm looking.
Hold on. You can't even hear this shit though.
And then disperse.
You can hear that, right?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. So now the thing I gotta do is to display this bullshit. All right.
You want to know what's really wrong with the black community? Is that the woman is out of her purpose and she's not a helpmeet no more. She's the enemy. She's more of an enemy than a white man ever has. She's more of an enemy than anybody in history has ever been to the black community because she's the very person that comes in with deceit and looks to use you and then disperse of you when she's done with you.
Let me make this abundantly fucking clear. I stand 10 tones down by everything I am about to say. But the black manosphere, the black passport bro movement, the black incels, the black Proud Boys, you are a hindrance. We are carrying you rusty, musty, dusty.
So the first question I have is, okay, bro. I can understand you commenting like you did weighing in, but the other thing that I have is, who is this Asian bitch, man? What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck dog do you have in this fight, man?
Who are you? What are those?
What the fuck do you You act like Asian dudes don't have their own issues with Asian women and shit.
I can't. This is why I can't. Right
but the point is, do her some shit that was like a black man venting and frustrating about how oftentimes, a lot of times, black women triangulate the system of white supremacy and weaponize it against black men. And to act as if that shit never happens, that's a fucking lie. Now, I'm not saying that, black men don't do fucked up shit. I'm sure they do. But to say that black women do not, absolutely positively do not do shit that's fucked up is a goddamn lie. And to tell men that they have to be quiet because who's fucking carrying us? The last time I looked around, ain't nobody carrying us no fucking where. Motherfuckers is profiting off of our fucking death. Literally. Motherfuckers is profiting off our death like BLM. And then shifting the focus to trans women. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit about?
Hey man, that's approved, man. You can't criticize that. It's all good. Don't worry about it. That's got the stamp of approval. We're good.
Bruh. But passport bros is like, okay, look, if we can't get respect where we are, keep our minds open and say, okay, well, maybe we can fuck some chicks somewhere else and maybe we'll get some more respect. And we don't have to deal with like combativeness and, like just passive aggressive behavior or outright aggressive behavior or behavior where I run it. And if you don't do what the fuck I say, if it's my way or the highway, it's my way or the highway type shit. But that's just women in general in the United States. They created policy and law to where women can do whatever the fuck they want to in the United States right now. And to act as if men are supposed to sit back and to say, okay, well, I just accept it because, the fucking intersectional calculus developed in the 70s? Man, fuck that shit. That shit is over with. It's done. That shit is gone. That whole quiet period, that time where women just don't get challenged at all and niggas supposed to sit back and take it, that's over with. It's done. But he don't know it yet. He ain't got the memo yet because he been taught by white bitches and shit and Asian bitches, whoever the fuck else. He been taught by white women because the political axiology of the left right now is white women's value system. That's exactly what the fuck it is. What white women want, what they argued is just or unjust is what the fucking whole program is. Or what they say, but they speak with forked tongues because they move one way and they talk another way.
I don't want to misdirect where you're going here, man, but I just want to throw this in as food for thought, man. Would you not see that as a extended arm of a white supremacist mindset?
Well, look, let me just say this. Here's the thing. Black folks in America, especially black folks on the left, have the tendency to believe that everything that comes from the left is benign and that it's progressive and it works in the best interest of black folks as a whole. That's just not the case. That's not the truth. It's a lie. It's political ideology as opposed to actually finding out what's objectively true about leftist politics. And if anybody's been watching, like I've been saying, ad nauseum, like I just have to repeat it. White women hijacked the civil rights movement. Bottom fucking line. They just hijacked the motherfucker. And in so hijacking it, they did what was best for themselves. But it was white men who basically allowed them to hijack the motherfucker. White dudes allowed them. This is why at some point I'm about to do a show against all of these white boys and shit who, got these channels and they got fucking millions of followers type shit, damn near. You know what I'm saying? Like hundreds of thousands of followers, and they talk about fantasy television like Star Wars and fucking The Lord of the Rings and shit like that. They're fantasy nerd shit. Marvel, comics and all of this, which principally I don't have a problem with. But the point is, they act like white men are under attack, and to some degree they are. But the point is, you fucking paved the way for this shit. You opened up the floodgates for this bullshit. They opened Pandora's box. And they did it in order to stymie the progress of black folks, particularly black men. It's the fucking facts. But now they want to sit here and talk about how woke shit is fucked up. You white motherfucking boys are the authors of woke shit. Bottom line. They created the shit in order to basically create a way to form a blockade against Negroes, man. And now they act like it's, like progressive and shit. It's a farce. It's all bullshit. And they told you a long time ago. Man, I've been showing the video. I'm going to come back to this shit. But I'll show you the video again. One last time. Hold on. Let me get rid of this shit. I'll come back to this. I will come back to it. I need to escape this shit. Hold on. It's a lot going on here, kid.
Whole lot of bitch thing going on, man. Whole lot of bitch thing.
But they told you what the fuck they were up to a minute ago. Just like this white chick right here. Like, you don't believe them when they say what they say. Motherfuckers just don't believe them. They telling you what they doing. Here it is.
Most important changes that have taken place in respect to the status of women since you've been in Congress.
Well, I think perhaps the most important change was the one that added sex to the bill of 1964. This bill was drafted really to help Negroes. Now, it wasn't clear. It would have meant that Negro women would have been given rights that were not available to white women. Therefore, we added sex. It is my belief that the drafters had never had assumed that no women would get any rights. So that I think both white and black women were helped by the bill.
Now notice who she said wasn't fucking helped by the bill.
Uh-oh.
Did she not just say, look, when they added sex to the bill, it meant that if it wasn't added, then black women would have more rights than white women, right?
Uh-oh.
But it also meant that black men, if the bill didn't have sex added to it, would have more rights than black women and white women, correct?
Uh-oh.
Huh? This shit, to me, it's just, all you gotta do is, motherfuckers in the space say they're logical, right? That's what they operate on, the principles of logic, correct?
That's what we hear, yeah.
So if she says that both black and white women were helped by the bill, the way it was reshaped and refashioned, and we already know who did it, was Howard Smith, the Democrat from Virginia, who introduced sex into the bill. This is why you have gender politics and sexual related politics all infused under leftist politics at the current moment. This is the reason why.
Most of the people who actually introduced that were Democrats. Her included.
Of course. But you have to understand this. Look, one thing that I would like, for black folks to stop doing is to try to bifurcate themselves according to the bipartisan politics that takes place in the United States. Like, especially like during the 70s and the 60s, the 60s and the early 70s, the Democratic Party was the repository of white supremacy, dog. Southern Democrats, them was some good old ass white boys, like the motherfucking, like the party that like Bill Clinton came from. That his daddy was a Democrat, shit like that. Them motherfuckers was some staunch racists and segregationists. Those are just the facts. But at the end of the day, all I'm trying to articulate is white women hijacked the Civil Rights Bill, dog. And all of this leftist shit, the whole categories of race, gender, and class, all that shit, all of those are nothing more than categories developed by the 64 Civil Rights Act. That's all it is. Nothing more. And it's become a money grab for certain identity groups. All you have to do is say, okay, well, I'm at this, I'm at that. Then there's money earmarked for you in relation to the bill. But the bill was not intended initially to deal with the subject matter of sex. It was not. But now that's all that anybody's fucking talking about.
Real quick, Gigi, because I see this guy in the comments. To make something clear, post-civil, just so that people are clear on this, because they seem to still want to get this idea in their head that the Democrats are something completely different from the right wing, and they're so much better. I think that part is disingenuous as well. Not you, Gigi. I'm talking about this guy in the chat. For the people in the space that pretend it's white supremacists do, that the parties didn't switch because of the Civil Rights Act. Listen, what he just showed is that this happened post the Civil Rights Act. Okay? This wasn't pre the Civil Rights Act. This was post, bro. So please understand that these people are still, to this day even, not working in your best interest. All right. Neither party in particular has your best interest at heart when they promote bills and information.
That's how I perceive it.
Sometimes they've created bills, quite frankly, like this one, to disrupt you on purpose.
Yeah, them motherfuckers, man, like white liberals in the United States, what they do is they subscribe to this whole notion of colorblindness and shit. But my larger point was this. Now you got white boys who are acting as if, like the country is against them when you're the authors of this whole fucking movement in the first place. Your demographic is the one that set this shit in motion, along with the white women that you say that you got an issue with now. So then they'll talk about white women and woke politics and how they don't like it, but it served your purposes in the fucking the mid-60s. You use that form of politics in order to basically stymie and to thwart black progress, but particularly the progress of black men. But they use dog whistling to talk about it. They don't fucking come out right and say, we don't want the niggers to have shit. Now they'll say, well, it would have meant that people had more rights than white women. We can't have that now, can we? Nobody can be above the white woman, right? I mean, so at the end of the day, so former slave owners, former segregationists, and the main protagonist for lynching, which is white women, okay? Now all of a sudden, these motherfuckers are worried about black people having more rights than them? Man, fuck them people, bro. That's my whole premise all along has been, fuck that bullshit. So if you talking to me about Pearly, I'm gonna say from the beginning, I don't trust them motherfuckers. Now some of you might prefer them because you feel like, well, they teach you better, they're less combative than a black woman or whatever. I'm like, I don't trust them motherfuckers as far as I can throw them myself personally. That's just me. Now, you can do what you want to. I mean, you can wife them, whatever the fuck you want to do, that's on you. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not here to be opposed to it. If you like snow bunnies or pink toes, that's what you want to do, by all means, go ahead and knock your fucking socks off. But don't get surprised when they have your ass in a motherfucking Jonathan Majors situation. But shit, nowadays, let's think about this, man. Intersectionality, the premise, the intersectional theory was created as a form of black women saying the same shit that's happening to white women in terms of dominance feminism is also happening to black women. That's just the facts. Kimberly Crenshaw wrote 2 papers. One, I think, in 89, if I can't get, mapping the margins, and there's another one she wrote, I think, in 83. Can't remember the exact name of it. I should know, but my mind is drawing a blank at the current moment. But the point is, the pretext of that paper was domestic violence and sexual assault and how black women don't get resources thrown in their direction owing to the fact that they're women and that they're black. So, because nobody cares about black women, right? So we don't get resources related to us being killed and raped. That's her argument, bro. Now, I dare any of you motherfuckers to tell me that's not the argument, because those are the same fucking arguments that she makes, man, in her text. So, basically, create a police state to monitor and to fucking diffuse the negative energy from black men that's being directed towards the poor, innocent, faint couch ass black women all across America who are being subjected to the viciousness, hyper-masculinity, toxic fucking behavior of black men who pose a direct threat to their safety. That's what intersectionality is. It's an apology for the ramping up of the carceral state to surveil black men, predicated upon the idea that black men are beating the shit out of and sexually assaulting black women. That's what the fuck it is. But the problem I have with it is the very same shit that black women, black feminists, are claiming that black men are doing is the same shit black women they goddamn selves are doing throughout their fucking communities. They doing the same shit they accusing black men of.
They actually have adopted the Dixiecrat position, believe it or not, wholesale.
Bro, all I can say is I've looked at it, I've assessed it for what it is, and I'm not too impressed with the shit. All I think it is a money grab. Quite honestly, it's a fucking money grab. But white boys to be like upset about this shit, you're the authors of this shit. If you look back all throughout like how all of this came to pass, they had many opportunities to just treat black folks like human beings. And every time that there's a time or an occasion in which they could just reaffirm black people's humanity, especially black men's humanity, the first thing they do is they do everything they can to stymie and to fucking block it. They'll cut their nose off to spite their face with this shit. And that's what I'm saying is happening to white boys now. If they got some issues right now, they're issues of their own making because they would not, could not, and refuse to affirm the humanity of black men in the United States. Bottom fucking line. So all the bitching and complaining they doing about fantasy shit, it pisses me the fuck off, bruh. To hear them motherfuckers talk about how they can't watch Star Wars in peace. Fuck your fiction, man. Fuck that shit. They create these goddamn romantic versions of fucking fantasy land where it ain't shit but white boys and shit there. And they all heroes and shit. Man, them motherfuckers make me, man, they piss me the fuck off, bro. I swear to God, bro.
Hey man, they're real good at, creating problems for themselves and then complaining about it. They've been doing this for a while now. This ain't
Hey,
nothing.
if Chaos ain't got no noise, man. Look, shout out to Mr. Me Too. Shout out to him. Shout out to Ray Knows. Shout out to TJ Hannah. Look, I'm just saying, I'm ready to get back to the business of talking about what the fuck we ought to be talking about. Justice-related issues for black men and boys. And yeah, I understand that you don't want to wallow in pity and think that you're toothless and act like, what you're supposed to do is to just lay down. This ain't got shit to do with laying down. It's got to, first of all, do with understanding what politics have been played against you, like what kind of confidence game you've been exposed to, and how to deal with it, and so you can basically understand how you should move forward throughout the rest of the game.
That's a lazy argument, man. But this is the thing that I get fucked up with black folks, man. They act as if there's no possible way you could walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. You have to pick. Either you're gonna walk or you're gonna chew bubble gum. No, motherfucker, I can do both. It's possible. It's almost possible that we can acknowledge that the past happened while still moving forward and trying to get things done and talk on behalf of things that have happened. Like you can do both. There's no reason you have to choose there. It's not some sort of bifurcated, discussion. It never has been.
Right,
People who try to make it that aren't having a serious discussion. They're not looking to actually to discuss things aiming towards any form of truth. They're not. Not generally.
So my thing is I'm trying to get to the truth. I'm trying to get to understand like how we got to where we are, and then like what actually will get us out of where we are. What'll pull us out? Tricking off, look, I do what I do. Yeah, to some degree, I monetize the shit that I do, okay, whatever the case may be. But it ain't like motherfuckers breaking their neck to get me motherfucking super chats and shit like that, or to hit me up with motherfucking cash apps and shit like that. Motherfuckers ain't busting down my motherfucking cash app. But motherfuckers paying 6 to God or some money, something terrible. I guarantee you that shit. Or Danica, they paying the shit out of them motherfuckers. I see 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 150, 100, 100. They did the shit. I ain't gonna lie. They hit your boy Kevin Samuels up, but I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I told dudes this a long time ago. I don't even think that you was on YouTube at this point, at least not doing content. Is that if you really want to get this shit moving, you really want to get this fucking ball rolling, you throw some tits on there and slap a cute face, bro, and I can guarantee you this message will spread faster than fucking wildfire. And unfortunately, that's just the way a lot of black men and men in this society are wired at this particular point in time. You can't really do much about that, even if you do try to speak on behalf of black men or really any men at this particular juncture, man. They're wired to accept messages from women better. And to some degree, that's natural. But for a large degree of this, man, it's a lot of socialization that's taking place that has shifted, where the fruit of knowledge is coming from now.
Man, I'm gonna do a show. Hopefully, man. What Sandog, fuck with me on it. But we were having a conversation today, on Facebook, and he was like, "Look, man, motherfuckers like black men got the shit backwards. We want like approval of women first to affirm our manhood instead of going out into the world and controlling the environment, and then motherfuckers coming to us because they need us for sustenance or whatever the case may be." But the whole
we don't actually even believe that's a man shit to actually shift the environment, to actually change or terraform an environment. We don't believe in thinking that that's a man shit. We find our masculinity either through a woman's vagina or through hyper masculine activities against other black men. That's how we find it in mass as a culture. And unfortunately, that leads to us reproducing some of the worst outcomes.
Yeah, that's hey, it is what it is, man. I ain't saying we got to go out and like conquer everything, but I mean the whole point is, basically, Sandog was saying to me, and I kind of understand his point here. It's like, look, if you want freedom, you can't have it in another man's fucking house. And like, right, Negroes are living in white people's. This is the repository of white supremacy, bro. It just is what it is. Like, if you look at who inspired Nazi Germany, it was the fucking American South. The U.S. inspired the Nazis, man. Hitler got his inspiration from this motherfucker, not the other way around. This is the place where, even in Haiti, you had more black folks than you had white folks. That's why they were able to pull off the revolution. Like, a lot of people think that, like, the vast majority of slaves came to the U.S. No, most of them went to fucking Mexico and Brazil. Look, just look the shit up. Most of the African slaves came and went to Brazil and Mexico. Now you see niggas all over Mexico? Do you? No, they got absorbed into the population. They got assimilated. Brazil the same way. This is the only place where motherfucking Negroes have not been thoroughly assimilated into the rest of the population.
That was on purpose.
Of course. One drop rule. Go look up basic research and information on racial stratification and identity formations within Brazil and Mexico. Now, are there still black folks in Mexico like our population here? Yeah, there are pockets, but not like 40 million strong type shit. No. Because they done fucked into the population. This is the only place where you will not get fucked into the population. I'm gonna let Chaos, man, you got your mic right, man. Okay, well, I'm just Jules. What's cracking with you, bro?
Yes, I'm here, but give me a second.
Boy, that boy can't get right.
Nah, man, his shit stay fucked up today. God damn.
I'm just Jules. What's cracking?
Nothing much. You can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good lecture. Honestly, people are mad that Pearl, she worked the system, made a risky investment, and came out on top. And part of it is like people need something to talk about on these platforms. It's not like very cogent unless you want to like follow that blueprint and try and triangulate one of the topic areas. I mean, somebody could map that out and do what you did, and I think there's still room for other people to do it. But
of course, I mean, you got black, some group, I guess they call they shit to something 8 or something where it's like 8 of them, it's women and men. They come and they have conversations and shit like that. I mean, they doing the same shit that Pearl did.
Yeah, get on the. I mean, and then there's other people that do it in person. But outside, I mean, Pearl's like a regular American white girl. Like, and that's not like anything about her looks. I mean, it's like if you've been around enough white folks, they think very similar to her. That they have this false sense of meritocracy that really doesn't exist because they take a lot more money from the government than most people do. But then they say that they earned it on their own and nose to the grindstone and all that bullshit.
Them lying motherfuckers, all they do is lie. They speak with forked tongues, bro.
I mean, it's America's a paradox in a paradox in a paradox. You know, you have all these conflicting ideas running around all the time.
All right, Gigi, can you do me a favor?
Go ahead, bro.
Drop the link again. I'm gonna use my computer and get off the phone.
Okay.
I'm gonna slide out and let y'all have it, man. I've been up here long enough, GG, taking up everybody's time.
Okay, go ahead and do what you do, bro. Appreciate you, man, for coming through and having a conversation. You know, motherfuckers usually don't want to talk to me for some reason. They feel like I'm about to.
Well, you love
You
the
know,
AK regularly.
I always talk to you, man, even when we disagree, because there are things, you know this well. We disagree on some things, but for the most part, we happen to agree on a lot of different things too. You know,
For
I
sure,
always
for
try
sure.
to stay respectful with you, you know what I'm saying, and had a conversation because you know what I'm saying. You always been respectful towards me, man. Good dude. So
For sure,
I'll
man.
catch you later.
Appreciate you, bro. Peace.
Have a good one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you're given, you know, at least 200 level college courses and lectures on this, and a lot of people don't find that as interesting. I do, but it's not as juicy as, you know, drama and chaos throughout, you know, a specific area.
And I don't mind the chaos and the drama a little bit here and there, but goddamn, like to be seated in it, like, dude, I'm not here to do gossiping and shit, man. Like, oh, that's bitch shit to me, man. All that gossiping and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do appreciate you doing the Dark Ghetto series, because I finally did finish that book, and it is, I mean, it is a good examination of like the stratification within America, and then like the pressures that are down on people who don't, especially Black people who don't have, you know, the resources to get a foothold. It's like that. You can see inertia just taking place, and how, you know, you just can't get speed. You can't catch your footing.
Well, I mean, you know, white folks know this. When white folks, man,
I mean, they got folks in West Virginia.
Yeah, when they were going through their poverty period, and in mass, you know, Roosevelt came to their fucking aid.
Yeah.
And he created public works programs and shit to put them to work and to give you a means to give them a means by which to have an economic floor. They lifted them motherfuckers up, man.
Yep.
And made sure that they, you know, had running water, better housing, you know, better infrastructure. They did that shit for them on purpose. Shout out to Joe from DC. He said, "Did you see my question?" Let's look and see. Did you super chat it or did you just put it up, man? I don't know, Joe. I didn't see it, bro. So you had to just you know, repost the question, because I don't know what the question was. But ultimately, you know, like this whole idea that, you know, like white folks just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Like, what was the Homestead Act? What was FHA loans about? What was GI bills about? Like, what's all that shit about?
All the military bases and what do you call it? Hospitals and schools that get built are basically public works projects for a lot of people, especially
land grant colleges. Like Martin Luther King talked about this shit. Like, or like farmers who get paid not to grow shit.
Yeah,
they just get money. Like, it's millionaire farmers, dog. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of millionaire farmers who don't do shit but just sit on their land that was given to them by the fucking.
To say, there's definitely poverty. Like, I used to do public health stuff out in Appalachia, you know, Western Virginia, West Virginia, and there's still white folks that show up to get the teeth pulled and all that shit. But like a lot of them, it would be double if they didn't have all this government money that went through from the past 70, 80 years.
But see, my whole thing is, it ain't welfare when they get it. It's, you know,
American determinism,
it's the way it's the natural order of shit. But when you get any help, but they don't give you help like they give themselves help. See, what they do is they substantiate they give them an economic floor while they give you piecemeal bullshit. So they'll build them the whole house, but they'll let you rent the motherfucker. You see what I'm saying?
You know, one thing that blew my mind when I heard it was Dr. Curry said that the majority of women who worked as maids and housekeepers for white women back in the, you know, the pre-Jim Crow, you know, pre-Civil Rights South had home ec degrees from HBCUs. So these were college-educated women, and they were chosen to raise children so they would have a good floor to bring themselves up. Like, you can have a lot of opportunity, but you can still be relegated to being the bottom caste because you can't plug that opportunity into anything other than here, wash my clothes, raise my child.
Right. And they,
Like,
they had to have some
I'm
good
ready now,
domestics.
GG.
All right, Chaos, talk to us, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm not sure if people still talking about Pearl that I'm not familiar, but it's time to move forward, hopefully, to other more matters, more in-depth conversations and content. I think with her, like most of the female dating experts, gurus, or feminists, the ones that has already been exposed, that these women are going to still get the eyeballs because let's be honest, dudes like to see something that's different, and they don't want to hear mostly normally of what they should want to hear from a man. And I think that's conditioning mentally for being groomed too much by the mothers, the women in their lives too long. So now they can't conceptualize hearing from a man that either show them proof or give them a different perspective and using logic.
The only thing I'll say is this: if the shoe was on the other foot, like, you think black feminists got a whole bunch of dudes being the spokespersons for the shit that they talk about?
Nope. Now that, and it's good for you mention that question. That's a good question.
Not to say that there's none, okay, because there are, okay.
Is an FD
But
Sigma
like, but you don't have like I swear to God, like at the early formation of black feminist movements, you did not have a shit ton of black men coming in being spokespersons for it and making a shitload of cash off of it.
No, at best you had like Frederick Douglass talking about
is FD
equality.
Sigma one of them? Is he one of them? That's
Who?
one of them black feminists. FD Sigma. Is he one of them?
But I mean, he's a Johnny come lately with the politics is already out there now. Okay? Like and I'm talking about like in the 70s and the 80s.
Oh yeah, they don't exist.
When the shit was at its, like inception stages, in its nascent stages, period. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so, like in its nascent stages, women were doing the work. They were like, we don't want no niggas in here. They would they went to live in fucking lesbian fucking communes and shit.
Woo! Damn.
They still have the attitude that if you're a male, you should be seen and not heard. Like, what did you like? Did you forget the whole BLM statement and shit? Like, and policy initiatives to where they were like, men have already spoken too goddamn much. We need, like, anytime they start trying to take over the conversation and take up leadership roles, we need to let them know that they need to check that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I think black women should be the part of the conversation. My problem is that black women don't take responsibility for the fucked up shit they do, and they just want to put all of the negativity and the dysfunction at our doorstep and not fucking express or, be realistic about the shit that they do. So if you want to talk about what Curry just recently said, one of the things he said, because I watched the video, he just recently had a video come out. But, like, when you look at feminist literature, where do you see, like, women being studied as perpetrators of violence in any domain or regard, for real, in a protracted way? Where?
Rarely.
Now, we have evidence, there's empirical data that demonstrates that, like, when it comes to violence against children, which arguably they're like the most vulnerable demographic in the world. Yep. Children, correct?
Oh man,
they're the biggest perpetrators of violence against children.
I'll speak to a personal experience. I used to have a relative girl who she would steal my stuff, like toys and shit. And then when I would tell her to not do that, she would hit me, start crying, and then get her mother in, and her mother would see her crying, thinking that I hit her. And then she would tear up on me, right? Like, girls are very manipulative. We were probably like 5, 6 years old. And like that type of manipulation at that age, that has to be studied as like as a dastardly tool.
But my whole thing is, I'm not saying that women inherently are evil. I'm saying that the social conditions in which women are able to carry out evil without being responsible for it is problematic.
And not even be suspected of it, right?
That's problematic, man. And all of this comes out of my viewpoint on this shit is that it comes out of the cult of domesticity that was developed in fucking what they call fucking Victorian England and the antebellum South. That's where this shit comes from. So it's like, okay, let me. I can do a whole show on this shit, and I'm not about to, to do it. But the idea that women were more virtuous than men in Western culture basically gained a footing during 18th and 19th centuries of European Western culture. Period. Again, the Victorian era, like somewhere around 1830s to 1900s in Britain. So you saw this attitude this attitude shift towards women, and something called the cult of domesticity and the cult of true womanhood, which basically emphasized women's role as mothers, wives, caregivers, who basically uphold ideas of piety, submissiveness, purity, and so on. Now, if you look at it before then, right? Not to say that, there weren't ideas about women's virtue before then, but it also humanized them and understood that they have vulnerabilities and are susceptible to sin, just like any other goddamn group of people. Okay? Especially like when you start talking about Eve and shit like that. I mean, like, not to say that these are positive, but I mean, this idea that women are virtuous, this is a relatively new phenomenon. Like that they don't do shit wrong, like that they're essentially good intrinsically. This is some bullshit, man. This is moral ideology that comes out of a specific historical time frame. Okay? And this shit, it's ridiculous, some silly shit. So like in ancient Greece and Rome, women this is Western culture, they were considered to be inferior to men intellectually and physically. They were seen as more emotional, irrational, susceptible to temptation and shit like that. Aristotle said that women were incomplete dudes, incomplete men. Early Christianity, again, you got the story of Adam and Eve. You got, however, that's counterbalanced by the idea of the Virgin Mary. But women were seen as both sinful and redemptive. Now they just fucking like victims and shit. So we've masculinized perpetration, we've feminized victimization, and the very people who say that they want to do away with gender categories reify those categories when it serves their economic and political purposes. And this is something that men should be like, fuck that shit. No man should sit there and be like, you know what, you're right. Especially when you got men are telling, to me, what the manosphere is a space where men are telling their stories about how women also do fucked up shit. But nobody wants to talk about it because what? Why? Because we can't conceptualize women as being perpetrators of violence or ignorance or maliciousness?
Hey,
this is ridiculous, man. Like, I'm not saying all black women are innately evil, but no, I'm not saying black men are the same way. The point is, we both have the propensity and the capacity to do fucked up shit. But talking about it in terms of how white women have basically laid out the discourse and the fucking morality and the axiology, it's bullshit. Especially coming from them bitches, like prior slave owners and segregationists and the primary catalyst for lynchings and shit. Now they get to talk about how fucking perfect they are? Man, fuck that. I'm not trying to hear that shit. That's just me. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not trying to hear that bullshit. I'm not. Go ahead, man. Y'all speak up, man. The Equalizer, you ain't said nothing. Big Kev, you ain't said nothing.
Yeah, I was about to say, again, you're right about that upper class Victorian era sensibilities. Again, this whole, and the reason why, and I was just listening to Dr. Tommy J. Curry's video earlier. The reason why a lot of brothers, are so easily emotionally manipulated, is because they believe the idea of that blindly deferring to women makes them morally superior, and not being unwilling to accept the fact that whole concept of female supremacy, as pointed out in E. Franklin Fraser's book, The Negro Family in the United States, comes from chattel slavery. The idea that women are inherently morally superior to you just because they're women comes from slavery, and it was actually used as an excuse to rationalize a lot of these negative discriminatory policies, such as Jim Crow segregation. So the fact that dudes are still holding on to this idea, it's like, bro, that shit was created to destroy you. And then not only that, but then even the concept of universal suffrage, or women having, basically equal rights or equal representation politically, these were cultural norms that were present in many indigenous societies centuries, if not thousands of years before European colonization of the Americas. This is the reason why the ideas of the Enlightenment didn't happen until after the British and French, etc., tried to colonize North America. Like, they're just taking the ideas that, to put it in slang terms, they're just basically taking some good ideas that niggas came up with and just slapping a white face on it, and then taking it to an unhealthy extreme.
Yeah, look, all I can say is, the United States, man, is a hell of a place, bro. I'm not saying it, again, I'm not saying black women are inherently evil, or nor am I saying that black men are inherently evil or inherently good. All I'm saying is that there's a lot of pathology that exists within our community for a variety of different reasons, and it would be smart for us to actually study what the fuck the reasons for the pathology are in a sophisticated and in a scientific manner, as opposed to a whole bunch of political ideology coming from white bitches. I mean, who speak with forked tongues.
Yeah.
How did these bitches be, the fucking cornerstone of freedom and what it's supposed to look like in the United States? These women, I keep showing motherfuckers these pictures to re-emphasize the point that these women, they weren't on the up and up, man. These women hated niggas, but now they act like they love freedom. Like,
but
bro, wait a minute. All I'm trying to say is, right, look, and I'm gonna let y'all speak, man. I'm gonna let y'all take over the floor, bro. All I'm saying is, how can a group of chicks, man, who were working, like, first of all, white women were organized. Okay, they make it seem like they were like just barefoot and pregnant in the house. They had no political power, no ability to, engage in community politics or, community organization or development. They act like they were treated like niggas for real. Like they were like subjected to segregation and subjugation. And one could argue, like, not to say that sexism is always benign, because it can be fucked up, okay? I'm not saying that sexism doesn't exist. But to argue that sexism and racism should share the same kind of space ideologically, or even based upon what we know in the archives, like there is no history anywhere in the world where women were subjected to fucking physical labor and treated like slaves for a protracted period of time in the same way that African Americans were in the United States. There's nowhere in the world. And again, as Kev was saying, look, man, and I did this with this show the other day about the black family in pre-colonial Africa. Because some motherfuckers like to act as if, like women had freedom and shit to move around and to fuck who they wanted in pre-colonial Africa. And I'm like, dude, that's just some bullshit. Pre-colonial Africa didn't even have a concept of rights and shit like that. They had a fucking hierarchy based on like royalty and shit. They had nobility.
Kings and queens.
They had the same sort of shit that Europeans in the medieval era had. Like there were people who were part of the nobility, and then you had like people who were warriors and people who were like priests and shit like that. Everybody was not just free like in America. Like negative liberty was the paramount value. That's some bullshit. And the same applied to sex and like sexual norms and mores. We act like in Africa, everybody was just able to fuck who they wanted to, like how people say, like we should be able to do now, today. Like, everybody should, be in control of their bodies and fuck who they want when they want. This is a relatively recent Western social phenomena. Even in America, you couldn't do that shit, until like maybe about, 60 to 70 years ago is when you started to hear conversations about being able to fuck who you want. start to arise. Prior to that, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I mean, there was at least some constraints on it. And it was shame and dishonor associated with just fucking for the sake of fucking. But today, this is like, hey, we fucked for the sake of fucking. Dude, that wasn't pre-colonial Africa. So, I just like to get the shit straight, bro. Like, let's just be honest. But there's no honesty anywhere. I'm telling you what motherfuckers are really trying to do. They're trying to uphold the status quo. And the status quo is you got a system, a hierarchical system where white women, arguably, like the second most powerful group in America, their value system is the paramount value system in the university and corporate culture right now. It just is what it is. And white dudes, gay, yes, dear.
At that point, you're the most powerful.
Yes, dear. Yes, dear. That's the way you want it, dear? Okay, dear. Or they are not impacted or affected by it because they're so higher up in the hierarchical chain themselves that they don't give a fuck about it. I mean, it just is what it is. I didn't make this shit up. All I did was assess it and study it and see it for what it is. I'm not, there you go. You see them. Now all of a sudden they become they're a minority group. First of all, in pure numbers, they outnumber every goddamn body. They live longer than every goddamn body. When have you ever seen an oppressed group of people live longer than the motherfuckers that they're oppressed by? Huh? When do you see that?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're definitely running the scam. In fact, that's part of the reason why. Again, that's part of the reason why women like Shahrazad Ali received so much pushback, because she was basically telling a so-called black woman, I'm like, listen, this whole gender normality thing. That's a fight between them as far as their sensibilities. Like, she was basically telling other so-called black women that they basically need to stay the hell out of the argument. And the reason why she got so much pushback, again, is because it debunked a lot of that, like, intersectionality theory. When she was talking about how a lot of brothers are being disrespected needlessly, simply because we're not white,
But let me address something. I just want to say this, man. Like, I get what you're saying here, bro. But please don't get sanctimonious with me. One of the things I don't like is see, this is another indication of ignorance in and of itself. Like, I can show you many articles that demonstrate that people who curse actually, are usually more intelligent than people who refuse to. And they have more candor and they're more honest. I'm just saying. These are the facts. Like, if you want to explore the facts, I can show you the facts. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I have a doctoral degree. I have a wide array of words, a plethora of words that I can draw from, a pool of graduated terminology that I can utilize in order to express myself in ways that you probably would be perplexed by. But instead of doing so, I choose to use common vernacular and sometimes vulgarity and profanity in order to express myself, because I like to show that, I'm common and that I have candor when I speak. And I'm not worried about being respectable or looking or being perceived as respectable by white people, and I don't care what they think, because at the end of the day, my hallmark example or case that, like, being respectable won't save you from white folks is the Jews in Nazi Germany. The Jews in Nazi Germany were a model minority of people. They were bankers, which, today everybody extols the virtues of, but in Germany they perceived it as like less than a noble or valuable pursuit, right? Finances and economics, okay? Banking and lending. But the whole point is they were scholars. They were artists, okay? They were, members of the legal establishment. And guess what ended up happening to them? They got put in gas chambers. Model minority. They still were relegated to where? They were relegated to ghettos, even in Nazi Germany. So, it is what it is. And bro, all I'm saying is, before you call me ignorant and argue or articulate the idea that what it is that I'm expressing is indicative of ignorance, know the facts, because you're supposed to be a scientist. And we go with empirical data as opposed to going with what? Our assumptions. That's the problem with black folks. Black people like to moralize, and they like to look good, and they like to use appearances as opposed to being substantive. That's the issue we got.
Yeah, I was
So
about to say,
like we need less moralizing. Like I think all across the board, we need less moralizing. That's just my viewpoint. But go ahead.
I was about to say, if you could look in this country, I mean, look at majority of the people that were victims of lynchings. I mean, these were people that were business owners, war veterans. Like you look at the majority of these, these all quote unquote black towns that were burned down. I mean, these were respectable, productive people, the vast majority of them. I mean, literally, part of the motivation for the burning down of Black Wall Street was that these brothers who got rich off of oil money were basically using that money to basically spending their money, offering their wives expensive gifts. And that was the whole rationale for why Black Wall Street was burned down, So, yeah, like, I'm agreeing with you as far as, like, just being respectable for the sake of being respectable, just for the sake of being respectable for the sake of appearing non-threatening to so-called white people is stupid and pointless, because if they don't like you, nothing is going to change their mind. And in fact, if you look throughout history, again, going back to Dr. Thomas Curry's video, where they're trying to say how the argument has always been placed forth about how if we somehow destroy so-called black men, these brothers in America, that somehow we would have a better society, is a flat out bullshit. I mean, you can literally look at how World War I and World War II came about because of nationalistic hubris amongst European nations. I mean, the first thing, and as we've seen over and over again, the first thing that racist white people do is if there ain't, to put it in slang, if there ain't no niggas around, all they do is start bashing each other's head in, because to understand that, you have to think like a parasite. What does a parasite do? Okay, a parasite, they leech off of a host until the host dies, and then once that host dies, they find a new host, and it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. So, like, that's an uncomfortable reality that people don't want to say. I'm not with those people of we need to worship, what Thomas Sowell calls black redneck culture, where basically niggas are just being ignorant just to be ignorant, or we should take pride in being ignorant. But at the same time, we should not be respectable just to be quote unquote non-threatening to so-called white people. If you're going to be righteous because you have that righteousness within you, not because of what they think about you. I think that's a losing proposition. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, my whole viewpoint on it, again, the politics of respectability ranks low on one of my, any reason that I would have a motivation or desiderata that I would have to do anything. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, the reason why you're carved off from the social body is because you're a Negro. It's the color of your skin. It's the place of origin. It's what they have created, okay, as a ascription or a quality for which or by which they're going to cleave you apart from the social body. There's nothing you can do, and this is the mistake of black folks, doing like the Harlem Renaissance and, the Negro Renaissance. They thought that they could, show white people their humanity, and in that regard, white people then began to, acknowledge and to respect their humanity. But like, I mean, think about this. And I think, it really shouldn't be that difficult to understand. The most successful and the most accomplished and overachieving black folks were the biggest targets of white animus. It wasn't the field Negro who, shucked and jived and cooned around who was the primary target of white animus. It was the uppity Negro who was. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand? Can you comprehend? The black business owner during Jim Crow would be a bigger target than the black sharecropper.
Yeah,
you get what I'm
sharecroppers.
saying? Do you
Sharecroppers have
understand?
utility.
The black oil speculator who struck black gold would be more of a target than the Negro in the field picking cotton under a usurious agreement.
Of course.
The black man with a storefront or a black family with, like a confectionery or a place where you could buy, like, drugs and things of this nature, right? They would be an apothecary. They would be more of a target than, like the black family that lived in a shack. So it's the uppity Negro, it's the Negro that shows signs of what black people, of what white people deny is possible as a quality within black folks. That's the thing that draws the ire of white folks to you. That is the irony of it all. That they demand that you, act a certain way in order to gain respect, but as soon as you exhibit the qualities that they say that is beneath, or that is above your ability to perform, then they come and try to exterminate it. This is the irony of it all. The more respectable you are, the less respect you get. Then that's the issue. I mean, but I'm not looking or seeking to gain the respect or to clean up the image of black folks, because there's no cleaning it up. You can't clean up what's ontologically or categorically dedicated in the minds of white folks to being, marked off as a threat. Like, you talk about courage, just go look at the video he just made. There are studies which demonstrate that black people are perceived, particularly black men, are perceived by white folks like spiders and rats and roaches and shit. That's how they perceive us. Like as visceral threats. Like natural threats. Like the same way, when you see a roach in your house, the first thing you do is your heart starts to race a little bit, or if you, God forbid, you see a snake in your house, what's the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna get something, you're gonna pick up something to defend yourself. That's how you're perceived, not through reflection and a thought process, but this is a visceral response to who you are. And unfortunately, black folks themselves have adopted the same kind of visceral response to their own demographic. That's an issue. That's a problem we all struggle with. That's the back door that, Carter G. Woodson was talking about. Like, if you adopt the viewpoint of who you are, this is why I have a problem with the divestors, even though I don't talk about them that much. I know Mr. Z does. But the point is, and even black men sometimes.
I don't appreciate you calling me out, Green Gorilla. I don't appreciate it. I'm playing. Go ahead.
But sometimes we can do the same shit about how we talk about each other, black men, and how we talk about black women. My whole thing is not to demonize black women, but to say, own up to your shit just like we have to own up to our shit. This ain't about saying that you're innately evil, innately horrible, although some of the shit that y'all do based on the circumstances is fucked up. But we're not supposed to say anything about it? For fear of what? Backlash against what? Like this guy, like the video that I was showing, I only showed part of it. But this guy, man, it's like black folks are being carried, black men are being carried by black women and gay people. Because our dusty, crusty, musty, that's the Vesta language, man.
Yeah.
That's the same language that Franz Fanon talked about in Black Skin, White Mask. Now, not to say that black men don't have their own antipathies and their own problems and sometimes go overboard in how they critique black women. They do. But I'm just saying, come on now. To say that this shit is only the province of black men is ignorant as hell.
Green Gorilla, and thank you for having me up. So the oppressed often take on the worst characteristics of the oppressor, right? So we heard this quote before, and something you said earlier in the stream, which was essentially black women, and I would argue white women in their socio-political position has become the go-to for women and LGBTQ people in America, right? Like, not even just America. As a matter of fact, I was watching a Vice documentary recently, and I actually put it in my community tab, and it was showing like the cross dressers and stuff like that in China, and the Chinese dude looked like a white woman, like the wig, the eyes, the skin. I'm like, oh, so it's gone so crazy that this Chinese dude halfway around the world, when he imitates a woman, he doesn't even imitate a Chinese woman. He imitates a white woman, a white American looking woman, right? So like the sensibilities of white women have gotten so, I guess, powerful or permeated so much of the planet that when you see black women try to adopt what they think is a class position, when you see other women of color, we already know about, like, I always bring this up, the Asian women and their interracial marriage rate with white dudes. It seems like no one's actually fighting this white supremacy or white hegemony or whatever, white power. It's the goal is just to imitate those people, right? And you see it, to me, the most pronounced example of that is women of color that are trying to be upwardly mobile, pretty much imitating white women, right? And I, that's why I often talk about the divestors and their rhetoric and all of that other stuff. And you can, when we brought up Pearly earlier, you can see this visceral response coming from the women, mainly black women, and just Pearl, and accusing us of stuff that we weren't even really engaging in, right? Because of their imagination, because of what they think the white woman means to the white man. Meanwhile, more and more data is coming out now that it's not men of color that worship at the altar of white women. It's women of color that worship at the altar of white men because of their concepts of patriarchy and manhood. So men of color, you don't get patriarchy. White men get patriarchy. White men can be patriarchal. Men of color, you sit down and beat a little boy at his feet. And I pause right there.
I was talking to my frat brother, man, and he was like, look, man, at the end of the day, what can you do, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you can try to resist and fight against these chicks, man. My viewpoint on, like, one thing I tell guys, man, and I've been saying this, stop trying to have conversations with all these women to change their minds. This is exactly where I think Kevin. This is where Kevin went wrong, in my opinion. I get what he was doing. You should talk to women to some degree. I mean, you should try. Like, I think it's noble to reach across the aisle and try to have a conversation. I do. There's a place for it, but I wouldn't put too much stock in it, precisely because you can't really change behavior without changing the conditions, the objective conditions in which the behavior takes place. Now, what I'm saying is this. You'll have a better chance of getting someone to stop smoking crack if you take them out of the environment where the crack is, right, and give them a change of venue, as opposed to, demanding that they use their subjective moral fortitude in order to, stop smoking drugs. This is why they say, often you have to sometimes change the geography or change your friends in order to change your behavior or to change your habits, right? Because your habits are a function not only of subjective conditions, your inner space, but they're also a function of your environment.
Correct.
Like, for example, smokers only develop within a culture where smoking is normalized.
Yeah.
Like, if there's no cigarettes, then you don't smoke. Okay? Sugar, like, obesity is only, or overeating is only a problem within a culture that promotes overeating. Or, like gluttony or something like that. Like, in other cultures, there are entire cultures where nobody's, like, obese.
Green Gorilla, could I give you? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, and I'm gonna move out everybody way in like 60 seconds. let me just offer this perspective when it came to Kevin and speaking to the women, right? We needed to, and when I say we, not us, because we already know, but the rest of society needed to see that, to me, to get rid of that moral high ground that they put women on in general, but black women specifically within the black community. The same moral high ground that you were speaking of earlier, it made it really difficult to claim that black women were progressive, and it was black men that were trying to be these patriarchs, and black women were just looking for someone to love and cherish them. It's really difficult to make that argument now when you have this middle-aged man speaking to black women for 2 years, and all you hear is some materialistic, consumeristic, aspiring for white norms of upward mobility and extravagance and all of that. That's why the preachers had to pretend like they didn't see what Kevin was doing. That's why you saw everybody was scrambling like roaches, because everybody pretended like they didn't see what the women were saying, right? That's why you saw them dancing on his grave when he passed. So I'm just offering a bit of a perspective on. I think now it's time to transition out of that. So I agree with you on that. But I think that the rest of society, particularly the black community, had to see that to be like, oh wait, maybe we did turn our daughters into this, right? Or maybe we did see this and we pretended like we don't. Although they're still doing that. So what do I know? Anyway, I'll pause right there.
I'm gonna let the brother Michael Fuller speak. Don't and look, I was respectful to Michael. The only thing I just tried to articulate to him was that, at the end of the day, I don't put too much stock in respectability, and only because of the reasons that I already explained. But I know he wants to defend himself, so I'm gonna give him the opportunity to do so here. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, well, no, I don't want to defend myself, brother. All I want to say is I appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate you, brothers, and much love. When we talk about education and knowledge of self, understanding the world around us, I appreciate all educated brothers that took the time out to invest in themselves. So it's much love. When we talk about the situation, the patriarch looking at white males as having that particular status in the United States, in the world, we have to ask ourselves the question, why? Why is it that? The thing is they stick together, right? There's no way that the system where we've been that we're under and been under for centuries would have upheld itself if they weren't sticking together. And we all know that. Our problem is that we don't stick together. See, we don't have that unity. A lot of intelligence on this forum. And again, brother, I was not inferring that you were ignorant, because I can talk just as ignorant as anybody. Believe
Say
me.
less, man. Say less, bro.
Okay,
I say less. The whole thing was like save the debauchery and the vulgarity for a private, space, and then we could drink and smoke and talk shit. I get it. I understand.
That's kind of what I mean, because I like coming on forums like this and talking to brothers when I get a chance to do that, because it's very important. I mean, we're not going to solve the situation until we learn how to unify. We got to unify intellectually, morally, financially, right? Our minds have to be unified, like those who oppose us and those who have kept us in situations that are very disadvantageous since the days we got here, 400 or 500 years ago. That situation is only going to be overcome through unity. No individual man or no individual person is going to overcome a system that's been designed over centuries to oppress a people. And just like Malcolm X said, it doesn't really matter how far you get as an individual in life. A man's never going to be respected over the respect that his people has. So until we learn how to unify, our women are not going to follow us, bro. Until we learn how to unify, our women are not going to see us in that same patriarchal vision and that mindset that they see white males in. And white males have that because they stick together. They stick together.
This is what I'll say. Okay,
well, the problem is that
hold on. Let me answer that question. Okay,
it's not really a question, but
let me respond to that statement. Okay, so here's my position on this. Right, I don't think white people get along all that well. I don't think that they're absolutely unified, but what they do that we don't do is that they create institutions where they can collectively make decisions, or they can make collective decisions. And they at least hinge around something that they agree about as opposed to what they disagree about. I mean, they do disagree. Like, we've seen internecine
they do.
warfare amongst white folks.
Oh,
But
yeah.
one thing they do is they develop institutions where they can make decisions and govern. What we do is we just let white folks govern us. We don't. I mean, unfortunately, and my hallmark example of this is Ferguson, Missouri, right? And I'm from St. Louis, okay? So North County is an area that's predominantly occupied by black folks,
Yeah.
but they don't control the reins of government there.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like, how can you live in an area and there are municipal governmental structures that exist there, but you don't intervene on any of them. You don't even frequent them. You just kind of like on cruise control, but it's habit, okay? We haven't been habituated to take up the reign of politics or, to be self-governing and autonomous. We kind of been like trained or habituated into, just being like a consumer-like voter.
I think it's more basic than that. I think it's more fundamental than that. I mean, when you look at, obviously, if you look at the history of Europe, no, they don't get along. They don't. Before they came out of Europe, right? Before they actually came out of Europe and start, colonizing and projecting power across the globe, they were killing each other. They were fighting each other. No. So, you talk the Scottish. The Scottish don't like the English,
No.
right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when it comes to you and I, they're unified. You understand? The mistakes, the decisions they make in regards to how you and I are going to thrive and survive on this planet. I'm talking in general right now. That's unified. They're unified on that behalf. I don't give a damn how much they hate each other. You understand? So what I'm saying is that that's our problem. Our problem is we are not unified. We don't have that basic understanding that it's going to take that unity.
So Alpha Sigma 19.
It's going to take that unity in order to raise our people and our families, our communities from the dead state that it is to a living perpendicular. We're going to have to be unified. We're going to have to be unified in all those areas that I talked about. And it's not really about competition. The thing is, man, we're special people. We're special people. The intelligence even here on this panel. Just think if we were actually unified enough to take the brain power we have just on this panel and come together financially and come together mentally and intellectually and develop something. Unstoppable.
I tried to do it when I first came into space, bro. So, hey, you preaching to the choir on that. So
I'm just saying we need that. We need that. We need that. We need that ideology going forward. We need to teach that. That needs to start here with each of us, and we need to continue to teach the others to come up. And you know what? And here's the thing: we don't need to do that out of hatred for anybody. It's not about hate, man. It's about surviving and loving yourself, and loving those who look like you, loving all humanity. The bottom line is, as long as Black people are living in an existence that we're living in this country, all of humanity suffers. All of humanity is at risk, and so it's our responsibility to come together, show some unity as brothers, and just do things together from all those different areas that I spoke about. That's kind of where I'm at. And hey, like I said, I don't have any animosity towards any of you brothers. I don't know you. As far as I know, I love you brothers, and that's no homo, straight up. But the bottom line is, I love you as brothers because obviously you've invested in yourself and you're doing the right things. We need to cut the fat off and really realize that we need to focus and realize that we're in a situation that we don't get strategic about our existence, we won't be here.
Hey,
all right, man. Thank you,
bro.
I appreciate it. Be careful. Go ahead.
I understand how you feel, but here's the problem, and this is the problem that occultists like Brother Panic have constantly pointed out. People who spout out a lot of pro-Black rhetoric, we keep believing this grandiose ideal about how groupthink is going to magically save us from all our problems, and that's never happened. Literally, that shit's never happened. I'm not saying we can't work together. I'm saying is that thinking that we all have to think the same, speak the same, eat the same, shit the same, etc. That's never worked. All that's happened is that we've just become more fragmented and it's fractured into more tribalistic. Okay,
that's
ironically,
not what I'm saying, brother.
Like if you're referring to, okay, let's work together, let's stay out of each other's way, let's offer support when necessary, that type of stuff, but still give each other the grace to be able to think for ourselves, I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I agree with that. But just all this, like, we gotta promote groupthink, and we gotta promote ideology as this magical cure to all of our problems.
No,
Like, I'm
no
listening.
one's going to group think,
Yeah.
but it's got to be some basic things.
Yeah.
That some
Yeah.
basic tenets that you.
There's got to be some boundaries where it's like, hey, listen, bro, you know, we can't be like screwing each other over. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with you on that.
Do no harm.
You know,
that's what we're.
exactly.
That's the basic
Right.
tenet I think Black people struggle with. It doesn't have to be this mythical, kind of Disney-esque concept of unity. But if we had a base do no harm,
this ain't Disney,
but
man. This is war.
but here's the issue, and it's the concept of freedom, right? Black people get to be free of other Black people's opinion of them because you get to run the white society. Because you get to use the racist tool of white society to ignore what the rest of Black people are on. That gives you, air quotes, this sense of freedom, and so you could do harm to other Black people, whether it's rhetorically, whether it's economically, politically, and you can be selfish and don't care about the rest of the group. And I'll pause right there. Go ahead.
Those are coons. Those are unethical coons. We're not talking about that type of individual. I'm talking about people who understand and have a love for themselves, a love of what God made them, and a love of the people around them. I mean, that's what I'm talking. I'm talking about upstanding, righteous folks who want to fight against, the errors and the wrongs, the evils of the society. It doesn't mean anything about hating other people, but it means, doing what you need in order to make your people survive. This is not a like you said, Disney-esque perspective. This is war. This is strategy for survival. If we don't do it, we won't be here.
Let me just say this. Let me intervene on this, right? Okay, so look, let me just say this. To a certain extent, I understand what the brother's saying. Let me put it frankly like this. A lot of times in this space, men are averse or they have a problem with the whole concept of pro-blackness, okay? And for various reasons. I think the primary reason is that a lot of brothers in this space have a negative reaction to the idea of unifying without, being, like open and candid about the problems and the pathology that exists within the community. And then like everybody just accepting everyone else, sheepishly without being discerning about who should be part of the in group and who should be part of the out group, who should be in the leadership class, who should be the followers, because anytime there's unity in war, you got a hierarchy. There's
structure. Yeah, you gotta have structure.
There's always going to be hierarchical structure.
That's
the problem with Black folks is we can't determine, in any objective measure on who the fuck is going to be the leader. Everybody keeps clamoring for the hierarchical top dog head nigga in charge position. But beyond that, this is what I have to say though. Like to those who are averse to pro-blackness or unity in general, right? Well, my point is like if you're not pro-black to some degree, then what the fuck are you? Like, I mean, I have to be honest about this. Like, if to some degree you're not pro-black, then why are you even in a space called the Black manosphere? Why not just be part of the fucking manosphere in general? Why even talk? Hold on, wait a minute. Okay. I'm not done. Why, if you are against pro-blackness as a concept, right? Why do you keep hovering around niggas? I mean, like, let me just be honest about this shit. Like, why even fucking connect and tether yourself to other Black people if there is no inclination for you to be pro-Black or to agglomerate or to, make yourself close in proximity to other Black folks? I mean, like, I'm just keeping it a buck about this. Now, I'm not saying that you should be obsequious and toady to anything that like a Black person who's nationalistic or pro-Black says. I think that they have some problems in some of their axiology or their value systems. But at the end of the day, I mean, are you pro-white? Like what the fuck are we talking about here? Like I am, to some degree, I am going to be pro-Black. It just is what it is. Now I'm not pro-black in a naive way. I'm not saying that we should toe some, unilateral, monolithic party line and everybody should just be self-abnegating and go along in order to, reach the mountaintop. But at the same time, there has to be some sort of understanding, even if it's predicated upon injustice. Like, to me, I'm going to create a bond with people who I know are undergoing similar circumstances as myself. So let's say, for example, if it was just left-handed motherfuckers, and I'm not left-handed, by the way, but if I was, if left-handed people were being stigmatized and ostracized and being kept out of positions and, opportunities in the culture just based upon some accidental property that they got left-handedness, then I'm going to say, okay, well, all left-handed motherfuckers, we need to rally together and go to war with these motherfucking right-handed assholes. Now, I mean, true indeed, it's an artificial means by which to come together. It is. But, I mean, if injustice exists, you have to rise to the challenge and meet it with equal, or even more force. I mean, I'm just saying, like, yes, blackness is an artificial category created by people who call themselves white. It is what it is. We know that blackness in and of itself is an artificial category. I know that. But goddamn it, if it's the case that you lynching me, that you're fucking castrating me, that you're making me work into perpetuity for you, right? Or that you say that I'm less than a human being, then if other people are being treated like this and they acknowledge it and say that that's fucked up, I'm gonna say, hey man, we need to bond together under the aegis or the shield of resisting against that bullshit. Now, I'm not saying that, like we gotta agree about everything. Again, I put up an article on my website that it talked about overlapping consensus, okay? There's a difference between articulating a comprehensive view and people having overlapping consensus about certain things. Now, there's no human being on this planet that's going to be in perfect agreement with anybody else. Not their own family members, not their own friends, 100% of the time. In fact, I always use this analogy. It's a joke. My uncle used to tell it all the time. He said, you ever sat on the toilet and tried to take a shit and you couldn't? Or have you ever farted and accidentally shit on yourself when you only intended to fart?
My.
But the point, it's a joke that he tells, but the point is, he says, if you can't trust your own ass, who can you trust? So if the things that are most visceral about you don't congeal with you and you're not able to, be in perfect harmony with your own self, how can you expect to be in perfect harmony with people outside of yourself? Now, it's one thing to come together and to coalesce and to look at it, look after each other and to reciprocate that. It's another thing, to ask for 100% harmony all the time. You're not going to get that shit. That's unrealistic.
Yeah, you're not going to get that. And I don't think any group of people has that. That doesn't happen. It's like you mentioned. I mean, but the bottom line is they agree on some fundamental principles. And if you don't believe it, you can just go down to your local Chinatown, wherever you live at, whatever city you live in, and you'll see it.
But I think the brothers in this space. So and I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead and finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I want to say to Leon. So Leon says, Gigi, it's not about who's going to be the leader. It's about who black women's vote, who BWs will vote for as our leader. Like we know the deal. And see, here's the thing. Like a comment like this could be perceived by people to be misogynistic or misogynoistic, right? But in my viewpoint, it's not really actually that. It's black men's experience about what's going on contemporarily in politics. It's like saying, okay, what the Civil Rights Act and its current incarnation of it works for black women. It does. But it doesn't work for the vast majority of black men. It just doesn't.
Okay, why?
Well,
why does it?
In the short term, it does.
Because it's a zero-sum game. Listen, Green Gorilla, I understand what you're saying, but the people The point that people are saying is that the vast majority of people, Green Gorillas, that claim to be pro-black are bullshitting. They're using it as a grift to justify their own hyper-dysfunctional behavior, which is why you see stuff like Black Lives Matter and the scam they're running, which is why these things keep constantly perpetuating themselves. You can also look at it when you look at the history of the American Liberians and how their oppression of the people of the Malachite Coast led to a Liberian Civil War. Most people who claim to be so-called pro-black, the self-described pro-black, hoteps, feminists, etc., are doing that as a way of justifying their own dysfunction. This is part of the reason why Brother Panic, again, who's in no way affiliated with the space, why somebody like Brother Panic, who's an occultist, savagely roast people who self-describe themselves as pro-black, because what happened is that when they invaded the conscious community space, they allowed the term woke and conscious to be hijacked, and instead of it applying to specifically to the so-called black women and women in that underground circuit, they allowed far leftists to come in and use that term to just liberally apply it to anybody with a far left-leaning political view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what always happens. That's nothing new. So what do you mean by zero sum game? Explain that.
Meaning that again,
there can only be one.
Exactly. That Highlander.
This is what zero sum
the Highlander niggas.
So zero sum game.
No, I know what it means. I want to know what he means in regards to his application of what is going on with black women being beneficial.
Their argument is that in order for them to win, black men have to lose, and have to be basically in an inferior position. And I'm saying that female supremacist rhetoric and point of view comes from chattel slavery.
Yeah.
Well, they said
oppression with the
so you blame that. So you blaming that on black women that they're the ones that.
I'm saying is that we're using the very tools that were used to oppress us in order to quote unquote fight back against oppression, which is not a real fight, as Mr. Z is pointing out. It's no different than us claiming that us being illiterate and stupid is somehow quote unquote acting black.
Let me say it more succinctly. Let me say it more succinctly, brother. Let me. The best way for me to say it is, you have to. The question is now, and what black men have finally been able to push black women to, is: are you actually fighting for this air quotes equality that you're saying, this egalitarian system, or are you actually fighting for a gynocracy, which is a black men building, maintaining, dying, killing, doing whatever to maintain a black woman-led community with all the dysfunction, right? So think about BLM. BLM, that was mainly the blood of black men, dead black men, and you had pretty much queer and lesbian black women running an organization that they told you could not say anything. You had no say so, but the whole entire mechanism was built off of your dead body. So that's what we're saying. So that's the zero sum game is we're gonna run it, but you gotta build, maintain everything, and you still have no say so.
You know what I hear? Yeah. What I hear from both of you brothers, and then don't. I'm just gonna tell you what I'm feeling right now and what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is that you guys are somehow making black women the blame for these particular instances you're talking about. And what for me, not at all. No. The way I
let him finish, Big Kevin. We'll respond.
Let him finish.
The way I describe that is cowardice. That's cowardice, because your real enemy is not the black woman.
Nobody on this panel believes that black women are the number one enemy. What we're saying, and no, it's important that I say this, because and not only am I not saying that, I'm not implying that. And if you check my channel, I always make sure that everybody understands who the real enemy is. What we're saying is we do not buy into the black women having a moral superior position to black men. What we're saying is black women are actively and knowingly taking the tools off of the white supremacist table to beat black men over the head with, because they want to maintain or elevate in their position in a white supremacist structure. So it's not about blaming black women. It's about saying that they're also complicit in the oppression of other black women, black children, and black men. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. And they're going to have to recognize that there are going to be some people that are going to be your enemy in that camp. There's a lady with a swing set and a rope who's not my friend, and I'd say she's very much my enemy. So there's a lot of people who think that because we're not benefiting, we're losing. If they are benefiting, we're losing. There's a phrase that the white folks used to say.
That's zero sum. Literally what you just described.
Yeah, there's a phrase that white folks used to say: if the black folks are afraid, that means white people are doing well. So if the black folks are doing well, then white folks are afraid. Like, there's a lot of ways that this works out in a lot of different relationships. I think that America, for a while, had a way where a lot of people could come up, but a lot of times they used the idea of all ships, rising water raises all ships, as
A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, to actually fill their boat up with all the riches, and then give people trinkets or breadcrumbs or butter biscuits, whatever you want to call it.
So let me rephrase it this way. Okay, so let me just put it. First of all, before I even start, I want to do say shout out to Alpha Sigma, the Blue Brother. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no beef with the Sigmas, man. Rue to the bros out there. You know, I'm Omega, so you know it is what it is. Shout out to Kalam Montreal. He says we recognize football teams, all different backgrounds, but they come together. Rather rank, exposure, salary, etc. All teams have the same goal to win and negotiate as a collective for their betterment. So you know, I get it. But you know, here's my issue, right? I think that since the civil rights movement has elapsed, we've fallen into this mindset that first and foremost, like the warfare, togetherness, and politics is based upon identity formation. Okay. Now, I'm not the person who created this. I'm a social and political philosopher. So I'm perceiving what the objective conditions on the ground are. Okay. But you know, think about like the work of a Frantz Fanon, or like, for example, David Walker's Appeal, or E. Franklin Frazier, or, you know, Kenneth Clark, okay? These are all people who were aware, men, I'm pretty sure Fannie Lou Hamer was aware of it, Ella Baker and others. They were aware that there are degrees of political awareness amongst black people, not just men and women, but both men and women. So this is not an either or, it's not a disjunct, but a conjunct, okay? So what we like to do is we like to take all of the political work and lay it at the hands of men and say, well, men are supposed to do X, Y, and Z. It takes an entire nation, and this is what I have a problem with black nationalists about. Because if you study the literature, and I've been studying this literature for quite a bit of time, I mean, there's nothing that anybody can tell me about Afrocentric literature. I mean, like if you want to start with Georgie James and the Stolen Legacy, move your way to Anthony Browder, Theophilo Benga Ben Yakinen, Ivan Van Sertima, or even if you want to talk about black nationalists like Martin Delaney, or you want to talk about Frantz Fanon, or you know, you want to talk about Amiri Baraka, people like that. I mean, or whether you want to talk about, the Black Star, movement with Marcus Garvey. I mean, like, I've studied all of this, okay? Kwame Ture, the whole nine, okay? So it's not like I'm lost on what black nationalism is or what Afrocentricism is. I know exactly what they are. My problem is that today, everything is colored through the lens of gender. So like when W.E.B. Du Bois spoke and he wrote his book, The Souls of Black Folks, he talked about the color line, okay? Nowadays, we're not even really talking about a color line anymore. We're talking about a gender line. And all of this is a function of what happened in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And I try to explain to people what this means. It means that white women, using the politics of racism, hijacked the civil rights movement and took food off of black people's plate. It gave it to white women. So
no question.
So white women, we're not just at war with white. See, what we think is that warfare takes place only on the battlefield. And that's a form of hard physical or objective war, okay? But also intellectual warfare is taking place, emotional and psychological warfare is taking place, habitual war, like these are the most pernicious forms of warfare, what takes place in the mind. And what takes place, because there's different, like if you want to use esoteric understandings, you can talk about chakras, like what takes place in the gonadal or the sphincter areas, or what takes place in the crown, your cerebral area. But warfare is holistic. It's not something that's just physical. It's something that's mental, psychological, emotional, habitual.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
And so And my thing is, white women are just they're a part of the warfare. White men are part of the warfare. That's why in Haiti, when it was time to die, they killed mothers, fathers, and babies.
Yeah.
They killed all of them motherfuckers. They weren't like, oh, well, you know what? Some people need to be spared. No, it was like
they
all
did.
of these.
And went to work.
They said all of these motherfuckers gotta die. Okay, because ain't none of them holistically, spiritually beneficial to us. But I mean, that might be a bit extreme. I'm not calling for that. But what I am
No, they let
calling
some live. They let a few live.
But,
They did let a few live.
But
Because it was like
by
to
and large,
negotiate
they
certain
weren't
things.
discriminating in who it was they dispatched with or dispelled. They weren't that discriminating. Like if
Correct.
you were pasty and white and part of the fucking hierarchical structure, they said it's time for you to go. You got to deal. You got to go see Papa Legba at the crossroads.
And that's one thing that they solved the problem in the way they saw fit. There's Dr. Amos Wilson talks about culture being what the community or people do to solve their own problems. And I think that's one thing. Like you could make, this whole panacea of, we're all going to get along. That's unreasonable. But I think where you can find useful tools and useful ideas that can solve problems. And if some of that is interrelationships, if that's interracial, larger relationships. But I think a lot of people see that the way to solve problems is acceptance and assimilation. But that only solves a handful of problems.
But let me interject though, because I got this train of thought and I want to make sure that it gets out.
Please.
And I know I'm kind of long-winded, but here's my thing, right? The black nationalists in the 70s, I got literature on it, okay? So like one of the things that I have pulled up, I did a show on this, I don't know how long ago I did the show, but it had to be about maybe 2 years ago, right? I'm gonna share the screen, okay? Window, not, there we go, share. So I had this up right now. It's just in my back burner, right? You see this, right? This is called Wan Namke Wan Nancy, the nationalist woman. And it's written by Mumuninas. Now there are excerpts from this document that are placed within the Combahee River Collective, right? But one of the things that these guys knew, and women too, in the black nationalist movement was that if there is no cohesion at the family level amongst black folks, there can be no cohesion at other levels, of development within the black community, because
foundation,
the training ground, the place where you learn selflessness, where you learn sacrifice, where you learn how to cooperate and collaborate, where you learn how to be self-sacrificial. The family is that unit, the basic unit of every culture throughout time immemorial, okay, has been the family. Mm-hmm. Now, if there's a breakdown in that, then you're gonna have a breakdown in the social development of the so-called quote unquote nation that you're relying upon as an ideal to unify the black community or the black nation, however you want to call it, okay? Mm-hmm. So the problem is they tried to speak to these issues, like the black nationalist movement was like, okay, how can we have more cohesive families so we can have more cohesive communities, so then we could thereby have a more cohesive nationalist understanding. And nationalism can be perceived in a variety of different ways. It can be perceived as having an independent state, or as Brother Fuller was talking about, like sharing some unifying vision about being, like a collective, whether it's just among ADOS people or whether you want to extend it beyond geographical lines and say all people from the African diaspora who were brought to the Americas. Now it's just, or, the repatriation of all African descended people throughout the world. It's just how you think of it, okay? I'm not telling you what to think at all. I'm just giving you an understanding and the scope of the idea. But one thing these people understood was, if the family is not together, you can cancel Christmas on nationalism. It's done.
Yeah, correct.
There's nothing there. And unfortunately, we've been trying to explain. All right, now I'm going to get rid of this. At some point, I'm going to go over this again, okay? You live in America. There's no getting over that. There's no way you can change the venue of where you live. You can't just unilaterally say, okay, well, we're going to terraform America and make it to be the kind of place that we want it to be without having to go through a great deal of toil in order to change it as a minority group who only make up 12% of the population. Okay, you're dealing with English or European like common law that has been developed for centuries. I'm going over this. I'm like, okay, you want to know why the family is fucked up in America? First of all, you got to understand the social contract tradition and the idea of negative liberty and the idea of the individual being free from obstruction from others to do whatever it is that they want to do. Like, you can't force or coerce anybody to do anything in relation to family life in America, especially today. Like, the motherfuckers are making oaths to other people and just saying, fuck the oath. Why do you want a divorce? Well, I ain't happy no more. Even 100 years ago, that shit would have been impossible. But today, it's commonplace. It's the norm. Also, like, sexual relationships with people just kind of like fucking for pleasure, always been a problem, okay? But typically, there's always been constraints, moral constraints upon sexual, hedonism. Like, you just can't just go out and fuck who you want, when you want, how you want, because of the social consequences. Everybody from every culture has understood that this creates problems. Bastard children create issues. It's just everybody understands this throughout every culture and society, okay? Except for maybe this one. Because we idolize and fetishize negative liberty to such an extent that we're losing sight that that's not the only form of freedom that exists.
Facts.
And mind you, also, my issue is, even before the Civil Rights Act, you had people like Frantz Fanon, David Walker, you have a whole host of persons who understood that consciousness is not something that only has to inhere in black men, but it also has to inhere in black women, particularly black women. If we're going to have a nationalist, culture, one that's unified, women are going to have to be at the center of the unification. They have to be. But if they're not, then you can cancel Christmas, especially in a cultural environment like this one. Because the nationalists understood this. Today, they don't even talk like this anymore. Because for the most part, let me explain it like this, okay? I know the history of the early development of black, studies programs throughout the U.S. And it was radical black nationalist kids who started them. But increasingly over time, these programs have become institutionalized and they've been co-opted by, white liberals handpicked, okay? So now they're more assimilationist, more racial eliminativist, less nationalistic, and more intersectional than anything else. So right now, you go to the average black studies department, especially at the Ivy League institutions, you're gonna see, like a whole bunch of shit about like how nationalism is regressive, how it's misogynistic, and how, we need to be more intersectional, we need to be more accommodating of women and gay folks. And not to say that, gay folks and women need to be rejected, but like the whole thing is, what does sexual politics actually get black folks in general, other than tokenism? It doesn't get us anywhere, okay?
It's an easy battle.
Well, it's a battle that corporations love to play because it means, and government, because it doesn't call for any kind of reparations or restitution for historical injustices. All you have to do is just plug a gay black person or a woman or whatever the case, some intersectional category person into a token position, okay, and then everybody's happy because then they get represented. Because it's all about representation now. It's not about substantive material dialectics. It's about representation. I want to see who looks like me in a position of power instead of actually being in a position of power. So now you got motherfuckers fighting over fantasy and shit like that. Like,
the politics of representation.
I want to be in the movie. I want to see more people. And principally, I don't have a problem with it. But when it becomes the paramount form of political agonism, then I think that what you have is you have something that's just milquetoast. It's bullshit. It's substance-less. Okay? Now, Frantz Fanon understood that racial pathology can be ingrained not just in men. Men are not the only people who can be coons. Black women can be coons too. Like, read Black Skin, White Mask. You'll see it all there. David Walker's appeal. There's sections in there when he talks about black women being coons, okay? Black men being coons as well, okay? I mean, like the literature is chock full prior to the civil rights movement and the advancement of second wave feminism of black people calling out coons, men and women. Today, you can't call out coonism amongst women or men really without it being a big, you know, like it's anathema today. Because you can't do it because then you're violating the sanctity of gender or class or some shit like that. And my viewpoint on it is there's no way that you can have a system of white supremacy and then it skips over, like the Passover skipped over killing, all of the firstborn sons of the Jews. Like it's just gonna skip over black women and just go straight to black men, and they just some bitches that don't want to be shit. And then, black women are just strong and they the backbone, and that's just how racism works. Like, come on, man, that's some naive shit. And we got to do a course corrective on this. Like, at the end of the day, gender politics has become the paramount politics in America precisely because white women hijacked the civil rights movement because they could. They were white women. And white men gave them license to hijack the civil rights movement.
Sure. Of course.
I mean, they just said, hey, here.
Well, the chess move.
It was like, hey, we gonna, look, here it is. I'm gonna show you again.
Most important changes that have taken place in respect to the status of women since you've been in Congress.
Well, I think perhaps the most important change was the one that added sex to the bill of 1964. This bill was drafted really to help Negroes. Now, it wasn't clear. It would have meant that Negro women would have been given rights that were not available to white women. Therefore, we added sex. It is my belief that the drafters had never had assumed that no women would get any rights. So that I think both white and black women were helped by the bill.
Now again, I say, notice who she says does not get helped by the bill. She definitely doesn't say that black men get helped by the bill because they didn't get helped by the bill, okay? Now, we assume that because, we have the visible ability to move publicly, without being, hosed down or being spit on anymore, that somehow that was a come up for us. But if you look at the empirical data, what we've been trying to demonstrate ad nauseum is that, black men, even from two-parent families from like upper middle class backgrounds, they're on a downwardly mobile track.
70% of them.
Black boys don't know how to read, man, when they come out of grade school or high school. They read like at a fucking elementary grade school level when they graduate from high school, and in elementary school, they can barely read it all and pass the test. Same for math.
Because we don't invest in them. And that's the reason why, again, why what we're saying is so controversial. Again, reason why a lot of the space people in the so-called black manosphere have a criticism of self-declared pro-blacks is because the majority of them, like you said, has a very, no matter how radical they talk, the majority of them have a very gynocentric outlook on life. So what happens is that they don't see women as a part of the community. They see the woman as the community, as in the single women, single mothers, the LGBTQ plus people, women that are like promiscuous and whatnot. That's what they talk about when they talk about the community. When they talk about building the community, they say we got to center everything around the women and basically fuck with the men and the children thing. That's not natural and that's not sustainable, which is why, if you notice, especially post-second wave feminism, the more quote-unquote pro-black we become, the more dysfunctional we become. And what
be careful.
What you're talking
the more
about,
pro-black we become, the more dysfunctional.
Well, put it this way. This is what I have to say about pro-blackness in general, right? Any pro-blackness that presents itself as pro-black, but this anti-black male is not pro-blackness at all. It can't be. Put it this way. Let me put it in different terms, right? What we have now is what, like a scholar like Tia San Johnson would call anti-black misandry. Okay, what we have is a situation in which, first of all, the culture writ large has always been anti-black misandrous. And the most vicious and lethal kind of violence is Dr. Tommy Curry is the person who coined the phrase. But the point is, or helped to further develop the concept or the ideal, that namely, the people who are most subjected to violence and oppression within the society are typically going to be outgroup males, following Jim Sedanius' work about the subordinate male target hypothesis, right? That typically, if you look at genocide studies and all throughout history, like historical archives, violence amongst men has been the most pronounced, and particularly, outgroup men are the most lethally targeted. Okay, that's like when you look at, like, I'm old school. I'm almost 52, so like, I remember Public Enemy came out. It's a reason why they didn't have a black woman in the crosshairs, and it was a black man, because black men are primarily the targets of white racism in terms of violence. It is what it is. Okay, but now we have to pretend that things are not that way, and because white women said that women are oppressed, same women who were slave owners, same women who were part of the colonial project, were quote unquote Republican mothers who were teaching their children how to be patriots. The same white women who were spitting at kids sitting at lunch counters and who were, at lynchings and, serving up food and, had picnic baskets and things of this nature. Now we have to believe that they're absolutely progressive and that they want freedom for everybody, all oppressed groups. And the question is, how naive can you be? Like, why would you believe? Why would you now come to the conclusion that all of these women are progressive? Like, if you look at
let me say this real quick. I'm gonna move out your way in 30 seconds.
Sure.
The best way to describe it is, white girls, white women are the mean girls in high school, and every other woman is eating from that table. She's the queen bee. She's that chick in high school, right? She's the head cheerleader, and all the other women are imitating her at the table, eating from her table, which is still a white supremacist table, by the way. It's just a different form. It's the velvet glove. It's the softer colonialization process, right? It's not the hard one that everybody's used to coming from white men. It's the softer. It's the missionary coming into Africa instead of her husband with the big guns in the ship, right? And I'll pause right there.
Hey, Dr. Gigi, I would say two things. Has there ever been a white woman version of John Brown? Because men can actually claim that. And two, have you read E. Franklin Fraser's Race Relations and his portion specifically on the white family? Because there was a time when he was known as Edward F. Fraser, but they ran him out of Atlanta for what he wrote in it because it was very scathing.
Refresh my memory, man. I haven't read it, but go ahead and talk to me and tell me about it. Because I'm gonna read it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna read it.
Because it's only like 10 pages, but he wrote basically in the 40s about how the white family sees race and social structure completely different than black people do, and that they make cultural contracts within their group and then outside of it, and then within their group they promote a certain way of family that a lot of black families don't do, and then they see black families as completely anathema to like the human species, and it's a way that they just formulated their family, and then the way they relate with others, that is, I mean, it's good, but it's wait, let me see. I'm going to drop it in the chat. You could do it another time. And I promise I won't bother you like I did with Republican Motherhood.
Yeah,
you can get that.
For sure. But, the only thing I just want to say is, look, I've said this before, and I'm going to say this. Look, I don't want to blame only black women, and I don't want to blame only black men. I want to say that there's plenty of pathology to spread around. Plenty blame, to ascribe to black men and women together, in terms of what they're doing. Or we could take a more objective and a scientific, social scientific perspective on why it was happening, because like when shit happens within a community, there are a bunch of different reasons for why things happen. Okay, it's not like chemistry or nuclear physics like the brother was. That's not one unilateral thing that gives rise or cause to a certain effect when it comes to a social dynamic. Now, like, if you get two hydrogen atoms together and two oxygen, two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom together, you get water, right? But like, it's different when it comes to social phenomena. There's no determinant effect related to, a certain set of correlates. It's not the same, man. Social phenomena is not the same as inner, non-living, atoms and shit like that. It's different, man. Okay, so we got to be more sophisticated in how we understand what the fuck is going on in the black community. But what we do is we use simplistic, didactic concepts like man bad, woman good, woman victim, man perpetrator. And that's an unsophisticated means or a method by which to understand the complex phenomena that's taking place in the black community. It's fucking stupid. It's childish. It's nigger rigging, if you ask me. I'm just like, I'm just to use a concept that you might understand. It's like trying to perform surgery with a fucking operation video game tongs and shit. Like, bro, you got the wrong kind of tools for the job. It's like trying to pour concrete and, to shovel concrete with a hammer or something, bro. It's stupid. We have more sophisticated tools at our disposal in order to understand what the fuck is going on in our communities, but we're not using them. We just refuse to use them in order to make everybody feel good about what white women have brought into fruition in terms of their politics. And it's time for niggas to be like, fuck that. Stop it, man. And that's why I'm gonna bring the conversation back full circle. Are we done with the bullshit yet? Are we tired of talking about this white chick and everybody fixing and ascribing characteristics to what it is we want, what we desire, and what our purpose and our function is? People from outside coming in and telling us what we think, why we're doing what we're doing, knowing like the inward springs of our actions and why we're here, or we just ready to say, okay, like we know why we're here, this is what the program is. Or we gonna continue to talk about and pontificate about what the fuck they saying we about. And if they say that we're about X, Y, and Z, come have a conversation with us and talk to us and actually see if that's what it is. Because 9 times out of 10, if we tell them what it is, they're not gonna have an answer. Or if they do have an answer, it's gonna be some baked up bullshit, Betty Crocker shit that they got from their institution of higher learning, which I already know backwards and forwards. They're just gonna be regurgitating and parakeeting some shit they got from a blog spot or a blog site. They don't even know the shit, where the origin of the shit is anyway. They don't know the intellectual history of the concepts. So, my whole viewpoint is we exist in a society that creates dysfunction in our community. We know that, bro. Ain't no question about it. Now, you want to place all the blame at the feet of black men? No, I don't think that's a good strategy. I'm not going to place all of it at the feet of black women. But the role they play in it must be understood, especially if they willingly and tacitly are engaging in behavior that's deleterious to us and then denying it is actually happening. That's gaslighting, man. If one thing that you get from Curry's work is clear, it should be that men, no less than women, are also victims of sexual assault and domestic violence in the United States. That's the one thing that you got to be, and also now you're dealing with exploitation and deception. Now to say that that's cowardice, I wouldn't call that cowardice. I would call that being indignant at injustice, especially if you've been done something wrong. And there are enough men who had wrong done to them to create a fucking space where guys are talking about it. Instead of understanding that, okay, these are human beings too. I call it the super nigga syndrome. Y'all call it John Henryism. I think John Henryism doesn't capture the essence of it in today's terminology. I think it's something different than John Henryism. This is super niggerism, super nigger syndrome. I don't get hurt. Everything is my fault. I don't show emotion. I don't feel. I understand stoicism to a certain extent, but god damn, man, like Are we human? Or are we super niggas?
Well, I think people presume that the black man is a super nigga. That's why they allow us to take the abuse by choice in all aspects.
I'm just saying, man, look, if you ain't never cried in your life, if you say you ain't never cried, I'm saying you're a goddamn liar. As a black man. I'm saying you're a liar.
But
I'm saying, like, right now, like, listen to the music we create. You got young black men acting as if they're impervious to harm, or they're admitting that they're in harm. Like, you know, like you got guys saying, like, I'm on drugs. Like, all I do is stay fucking zanned out to hide and mask the pain. Like Juice WRLD and fucking, you know, Temptation XXX and shit like that. Like, these guys are telling you, I'm in pain, man. My world is fucked up. Like, you got black men committing suicide. You know, women attempted more, but black men actually carry the shit out more.
Yeah, it takes a certain mindset to sit off with your life. That's why women.
We even had a brother in this space, man. I shout out his name every time I do a show. Who, you know, basically committed an act of suicide. Yeah, Forrest Windu.
Yeah.
But people will say, oh, well, that nigga is just a beta.
Really?
Really, man?
I didn't know that.
That's sick. That's a sick thing to say.
But we say that shit often here. Oh, that nigga, he ain't no real man. He ain't a super nigga.
Man, there's a lot of folks who have a lot of ways that they are not expressing sadness about a lot of men who've been lost too soon. And I mean, I personally say, I didn't know Forrest Windu, but I did see him in the chat sometimes. But like him, Kevin, ARC, these are all men that died before. David Carroll, all died before the age of 60. Like, I want to see black men get old, gray, live long lives, smoking cigars well into their 80s and 90s, you know, a few times a week, but not heavy. But like,
yeah, like, you know, Henry Belafonte, he died in 96. You want to see men get to 96.
Yeah, you know, Portier made it to 98. Right? Like, I want to see black men live good, long lives and have something to look back on and be proud of. And a lot of guys aren't able to deal with that kind of, I don't know, it's not PTSD, but just kind of, not even malaise, but just it's sad that you got to deal with that and not even see how do you
life for black men in America is difficult, bro.
Yeah.
And the problem I have with intersectional ideology is that what it does is, like Tommy Curry has talked about this, it caricaturizes black men as demons, boogeymen.
The Bête Noire.
It caricaturizes black men as the genus or the generator of pathology within the black community. So that's the problem right there, right? That's the issue right there, that nigga there. Not there's problems with society writ large, or there's circumstances that are fucking pathological that black men are subjected to. Not that black boys, you know, are, you know, subjected to dysfunction by their parents, whether they be male or female. Now, you know, like, there's something ontologically, characterologically, or intellectually deficient in this person, or in this people like this. This is why you're saying, you know, you hear the Vessel saying, kill black babies, abort them. Because that's the genus, that's white supremacy at work. But that's also the backdoor shit that Carter G. Woodson talks about when he says, hey man, if niggas don't have a door to go through the back door, they're going to create one. So white people ain't really telling us that this is the shit, you know, they're not really actually explicitly coming out and saying this shit, but we perpetuate it ourselves.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, one thing that you were talking about earlier is about film and how a lot of film, people want to see representation in film. But I look to a lot of film to actually examine the human condition a lot. And I don't really need to see hobbits and hobbits and elves that are black. But I've seen a lot of, Charlie Burnett has made some good movies that have examined the black family in a way that you don't really see in any American culture. Like Killer of Sheep, To Sleep with Anger. And he's shown that there's a lot of discontent and a lot of individualism that gets removed, or it gets pushed on us. But then there's a lot of family that we really appreciate that we just abandon for the ideas of hedonism and like material excess.
Right.
And he's made a lot of good stuff about the family in LA and how to transition from those boomers into the Gen X. And I mean, yeah, we don't look at ourselves and try to examine what we are made of and like what we come from. And then what are we trying to do?
But look, at the end of the day, look.
How are we here?
All I can say is this. It might seem like I'm anti-black because I want to hold people accountable, men, women, gay, straight people, whatever the case may be in the black community. All of us have responsibilities and we're culpable for what we do. All of us. But like the notion that like only some of us are more culpable than others and like some of us are more pathological than others. When if you look at the data, it belies the truth, then we got an issue. Like, I mean, and then are you principally, objecting to perusing the data that may perhaps falsify, your assumptions? Or is it that, like there's an economic driving force behind the shit that you're saying or a political driving force? Like, in my view, and I'm going to do this shit tomorrow, man. Like, I'm going over Curry and Adolph Reed's understanding of intersectionality and how really underneath it all, it's really just money. It's a money grab.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And, so I got to just basically be demonized and treated as a boogeyman so you can get money? That's fucked up, man. That doesn't jive well with me, man.
Here's a question. At one point we used to, some people do still celebrate Jackie Robinson going into the major leagues, right? But the MLB used to have this article on their front page that talked about how it was such a benefit for them because they also got to get a good player, but also dismantle the competition, which was the Negro Leagues, which was taking up a lot of the market share. So there's like this way you can be glorified at one end or demonized at the other.
Yeah.
Like how do you deal with that? How do you make plans against that? Like not seeing the future for what it is?
Well, they say hindsight is 20/20. The one thing that I've always said is that oppression is protean, meaning that, it's dynamic. It's not static. So oppression doesn't stop. Like, it's like, think about like, I'm going to use a reference to like fiction or something like that. But like, like in a comic book, like the evil villain who gets incarcerated, like, or even killed, that motherfucker's like plotting on how to reformulate or recompose themselves to come back again. Like take, for example, Doctor Strange, right? And how he dispatched with the problem of Dormammu or whatever the case may be. Caught him in a time trap. That fucking demon is plotting at the current moment to figure out how the fuck to get out of that trap.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Or like, evil never rests, man. So, the opposing forces of evil can never rest. They have to always be prepared because there'll always be a new problem that presents itself. And the strategy of evil changes. It doesn't just sit still. Not like Donkey Kong throwing barrels down a goddamn, a set of girders and shit like that. No, it don't work like that. Talking about a complex, like even worse than a chess game. And I say worse than a chess game because at least in chess, you can see all the moves that are being made in the open. In real life, you don't get to see what the moves are. You feel me?
Okay. Yeah. So, gotta ask if we're learning from the past too.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, man, I think that to some extent, Jackie Robinson did a good thing. But, it's always appropriate to take stock of like the negative consequences of what or the sacrifices or the pros and the cons, of any particular kind of social movement or some push towards justice. You know what I mean? Like, did it have, I think, if you were to use the hedonic calculus, it would be like, what was the purity of, the unit of good that was produced, right? So, like, using a utilitarian argument, it could be like, how pure was integration in terms of generating happiness? Or did it have, the exact opposite, impact or effect? Right? So, I go over this shit with students a lot, like when I talk about utilitarianism, because like when you talk about like good or bad or like pleasure or pain and shit like that, especially if you use the hedonic calculus, it's 7 characteristics or 7 hedons you got to pay attention to: purity, extent, propinquity and remoteness, duration, intensity, certainty or uncertainty, and there's one more, I can't even remember it, but it is what it is, bro. But at the end of the day, man, I just want to get back to the business of the black manosphere and talk about justice-related issues. And I know that's not titillating and exciting. I've been talking about the ghetto and shit. Ain't nobody came and dropped by to argue about it.
I mean, I've listened to. I missed only one screen about the dark ghetto, but majority of that caught most of all of it. Even some of them had to go replay back because I come in late in these streams. Green Gorilla.
But the problem I have, and BG, man, listen to BGS. What's cracking with you, baby? What's going on, man? Yeah. Hit the Cash App up, man. Support the Green Gorilla channel, man. Help pay the rent, goddammit. Shit. But anyway, all I'm saying is this, man. Look, I think that there's a time and a place to be, to vent and, talk about, this fucked up shit that black women do. And there ought to be a space for that, right? There ought to be. But also, I don't want to just talk about dating issues to the point where we get distracted by everything else. And also, don't be intersectional in your approach to, issues related to dating. And I think this is the reason why people were mad at Pearlie, because they expected for her to have the whole package, to not only, be talking the right kind of talking points about sex and relationships, but to also be talking the right thing about race-related issues. And I'm like, well, why would you assume that? Why would you assume that a white chick will have the right position on race-related issues in the United States? Why? Why would you even assume that shit to begin with? I don't fucking understand. But I will get back to the ghetto shit tomorrow. Sometime this week. Maybe not tomorrow, but because I got to see if Dr. Johnson's going tomorrow. I don't know if he's going or not. But at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is to say, hey, look, it's a lot of pathology to go around in the black community, man. It ain't just Negroes. It ain't just black men. It ain't just niggas. There's a lot of it going around. And, white women have been able to hyper-focus on black men and their impropriety. But, where's the other impropriety? Everything else is just pixie dust and fucking fairies. I don't know, everything is pure coming from everybody else. It's all rainbows and Skittles and shit. But when it come to us, it's like we the old dirty bastard. We the dirtiest thing in sight. Come on, man. That's some didactic, dualistic, non-complex, juvenile shit. So it is what it is, man. I'm about to sign out, man. And, y'all got something to say before we burn out of here. I'm out.
Thanks for having me up.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Another thing I'd say is, getting back to the business, Green Gorilla, we need this actual content, I mean, a lot of people have gone and pushed this so-called Caucasoid long enough. Now it's back to our black stuff, our real information, So I want y'all to tune in for the ghetto-ish shit. You get me? You're going to learn today, niggas. Stop.
Anyway, I'm done with the bullshit. I'm ready to get back to business, like you say, so.
Get back
peace y'all, man. Hair grease and all that, man. I'll try to get here tomorrow. If I ain't, man, it is what it is. But shout out to all the people who hit me up on the Cash App. It does work. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Anubis. Shout out to Ernest Williams. Shout out to True. Shout out to Shabazz and LaKenzie. And also shout out to Dar. Big up to y'all. Big up, man. Big up, man. Lively up yourself. And shout out to Aaron Peters, man. Big up to y'all, man. Much love, much peace, man. And until the next time, man. Until it don't move, bro. Until it don't move, baby. I'll holler at y'all, man. And look, go check out the website, man. I'm just not getting it started and developed to where I want to get it. But you know, also I'm gonna be doing product reviews and shit because I think we need to be expansive and shit, man. Like I want to do some shit like Men's Health Magazine did, man. You know, talk about working out, talk about how to dress, talk about how to get your health up, talk about how to, you know, to eat good, talk about how to deal with your dating and relationships and all that kind of shit. Like we ain't just unidimensional. We got joy along with our pain. It ain't just a whole bunch of pain. It's a lot of other shit going on as well, man. So I'll let your boy, man. I'll let y'all on the next one though, man. I'll be here probably, if not tomorrow, I definitely will be back Thursday. So peace and hair grease, man.